Slowly we should.
You have a good vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I never have seen people go camping.
No.
Perfectly get air conditioning on, continue eating and sit or look over fire.
When we could break and we'll camp and.
All right, let's get started. Y'all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Gary, would you all prefer?
God, thank you for the opportunity to be together and visit this county. We pray you give commissioners wisdom and guidance as they make decisions for the county. We pray you watch over the county employees and workers as they work in the heat this week. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Awesome. That's it.
Well, good morning to everyone. I've reviewed the minutes and make a motion that we approve last week's minutes.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Claims.
I reviewed the claims and I make a motion we pay them in the amount of $320,869.35.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. We pay the bills in that amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I've got a couple of ads and abates.
Make a motion, we approve ads and abates 203, just one, 204. And
Yeah,
One-
the one just carried over onto another page because it was so long. There's just two of them.
okay. Okay. In the amount of $334.70 and $4,110.
Yeah, that was the one, I think, wildlife area.
Oh, yeah.
An exemption on some of their property.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
If you want to knock it out right now, I also have Janet's interest report.
Okay.
She was actually going to be out of town a few days and sent that over so I could bring it, but it's her quarterly report on interest.
We just accept that, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
The motion to accept it.
You read it, since we need to read some of the numbers. People know how much interest we're making.
Yeah, the second quarter total was 129,981.92, which was better than she thought it was going to be.
Sometimes that document also has our tax.
But she didn't include that this time, so she may do that at a later date. I had asked for interest estimate because I'm working the budget on it, and she got me this too. So
So the interest is in the amount of $103,948.91. I'll make a motion, we accept the interest report from the treasurer's office. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
you guys can have those if you want them, or.
Very good, man. Maybe it's.
The sheriff just handed us the report. Did you want to, are you gonna go over anything? Or?
Yeah, I gotta get warm first, so I can go put my building back up. Come on up.
I also would ask Ward to be available today to meet with you regarding questions you had on, change order 7.
Yeah.
You also duct work and stuff. And so if you want to ask those questions now or later, you'll be around.
I'll be around all day. I got a meeting at 1 o'clock, so that, so. Okay, good morning. We did a schedule update. I've done this in the past, and you guys are overall schedule. Know what things are at. we're still on the track, same end date as last month, March 11th. We changed some of the sequencing around a little bit. Our iron worker is going a lot faster than he originally told us, and our mason is sort of plugging along like he normally has. So we've had to change up a few things and reorganize and jump different areas we did not had planned for. But good week last week. Actually hit a milestone. We finished all of our building foundation work last week. We're working on backfill today and building a ramp for access inside the building, but all foundations are now complete for this building. So they're going to start concentrating hard on, call it the 4-inch slab on grade. That's call it the east 2/3 of the building. And I think we have a completion date of August 23rd for that. Because August 24th on our schedule, we're going to start putting metal studs up on the perimeter of this building, and we got a lot going on, so it's going to be a busy summer. But things are progressing. Like I said, other than our steel guys going faster than we want them to, but we don't ever want to tell someone to slow down. So it was a good week. This week, pretty much the same. Like I said, working on slab on grade, continuing our low roof, load-bearing CMU, and they are starting to, pretty much by the end of this week, they're working on the metal roof decking for the high roof area that's above the jail cells. A lot of that's welded down, so it's going to be a process there, but by the end of this week, we should have all the metal roof decking on our high roof area. Starting next week, Monday, Tuesday, start our parapet roof blocking. Curbs, all the equipment curbs are going to start going in. We're going to start doing our metal stud framing for the skylights, cut out roof deck openings. And then the following week, we look at starting our TPO roofing on the high roof area. So despite losing 38 days due to weather since the start of this job, we're still pretty much on track, 4 days late. So I don't know if this is the forum for it. If we want to talk change orders, there are some questions on a change order 7.
The 17,000 or
We
something.
got two change orders we want to discuss. Change order 5, which is the one in there goes for. And then change order 7, which was 17,000.
Yeah, 17,150, 19 cents. This was coming out of contingency. It was some back of house ductwork revisions.
We had some questions about the ductwork revisions and about the fire marshal issue. And so I thought, rather than me trying to interpret what the questions are, get an answer from them and interpret that back to you, I thought you should just ask Warren directly the questions.
My question was, why was that fire marshal issue, why was it missed?
From my understanding, the civil engineer record, I guess was making an assumption. We have to have a fire hydrant within a certain distance from the building. I think it's like 200 feet. It's actually supposed to be a certain distance from a Siamese connection, either a freestanding one in the yard or one attached to the building. Well, the closest fire hydrant was not close enough to a missing Siamese fire department connection, freestanding. The architect engineer decided to put mount one on the building. That was talked. Is it Lauren Martin, the fire chief around here?
Doug Bartley?
Yes, that's it. I saw a different name. With the coordination with Doug on the location where he wants a Siamese connection, they're going to mount it to the building now, the southwest corner, so they could have access down the alley. Problem with that is nowhere close to the fire hydrant that's on site, so we had to add a fire hydrant to that location. So basically, these are all requirements that the state fire marshal would never accept in his review of the sprinkler drawings and the overall fire protection of this building. So had to be done to eventually get a state fire marshal's acceptance on it.
So was that Doug wanting that there?
No. Doug was pretty much just involved with the location. Does he want a freestanding fire department connection sitting in the grass somewhere? Or does he want it mounted to the building straight into the fire system?
I guess, but my question was, why was that not figured in to begin with? I mean,
That I couldn't tell you. We do not design it, we build it.
I understand.
So-
That's my question.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it's in the relative scheme of things, it's a minor, design clarification, design change. I was talking with Goldberg Group, this is a simple one to come out of contingency. So, but those are the reasons. The other one, the back of house, ductwork, this is all the mechanical spaces behind the jail cells. The mechanical engineer never had any fresh air supply, ductwork. We have some way up top, but wasn't gonna properly circulate the air, so they had to run a bunch of taps down, with some supply air ductwork.
That to me, I don't see that at all, because I mean, this isn't the first jail that was built. I mean, you know, why they designed it is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It isn't their first time designing the jail.
Yeah. Things are sometimes missed. This is something, requirement by the mechanical engineer, so.
So you need approval or?
I need approval of change order 7, it's total $17,150.19. And authorized, Rick to sign.
Is it already, the fire hydrant already getting installed?
Fire hydrant was installed. Everything else associated with that change order has not been done.
Okay,
Fire hydrant was installed because we were in that,
I got you.
with just the flow of work, we were in that area, setting the vault for the city of Mound City and all that. Gonna say something else, I forgot what it was, but must not be important.
No, you're good.
So this 7's just for the, is it both those or items you
Those
just
two
put?
items,
Yes.
ductwork and fire hydrant, and it is coming out of contingency.
I remember what I was gonna say. This week, we're processing some more change orders, PCOs. One of them's a, $21,000 credit, for a change, basically still a good skylight. The specs weren't real clear on a manufacturer provide for the skylights. So it left our roofer just to provide something that met spec. They were honest with us and told us they had this figured in their original bid, but if we go with a lesser brand or a different brand of skylight, I don't want to mean to say lesser, but still meets the specifications, they could offer up a $21,000 credit. So we got that quote from them. Just think of it this way, that could offset, add back into contingency this PCO. So that's all been approved by the architect.
If everything was perfect, then it would,
Right.
we wouldn't be,
Now, where there's credits,
Yeah.
we'll process them, we'll submit them, and like I said, they can go back in contingency along with some of those allowances we were talking about.
Right. You know, and
That's fine.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve, change order 7 in the amount of,
17,000. Top line.
$17,150.19.
that's my motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. And there's one no.
Good sign. The other change order that we need to deal with is change order 5. We have an agreement that change order 5 is going to be actually paid for by Goldberg. The hesitation came about because of the fact that it appeared to impact the greatest maximum price. I want to talk with you about that concept. We're not quite, we're missing something on greatest maximum price.
Sir, I make copies of these. This is what we based our original GMP off of.
Okay.
You pass that back over to one.
This is just, it's old information, been out there prior to the issuance of the contracts. In case you want one, maybe. On the back of this page, we have a construction GMP or construction amount of 19. This includes GMP 1 and 2. GMP 1 was the earthwork and site utilities only.
Okay.
And then we added in the rest of the building sooner than we expected. So both of those GMPs, that top line that's in yellow, that's our construction GMP, 19,027,892. That's what our contract amount on our pay app to you guys every month is. Just below that, we have a FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment costs of 375,000, and then the architect's costs of 1,200,000. Basically, the 19 million, the 375, and the 1.2 million all add up to our project grand total GMP of 20,602,892. So since you guys have worked out something with Goldberg Group in being reimbursed, it's the same as doing a deductive change order from their contract, or however you guys want to call it. We're not increasing the GMP to the project.
I know that.
So I just remember there's two parts of this building: design, FF&E, and then the construction. So we're taking away from design, FF&E, or design, not FF&E, and adding it to construction. So that's, I mean, there's talk on how we maybe want to handle this. There's really this way, approving this change order, increasing the GMP since you're reducing it from the architect. Only other way I could think of is a whole new contract and a new work order.
Yeah.
Which we personally don't want to do.
Right.
More for selfish reasons. It's a pain in the butt. Basically, we're going to have two little projects working on the same project, or two. Yes, it'd be an accounting nightmare on my part and our office's part.
I got you. Let's, did you have something to add?
Well, I
know
don't.
you gave us that paper.
The paper I just laid out the concept that he laid out even better.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
Surprisingly.
And that is we're seeing an increase in the construction portion, but an equivalent decrease in the design portion.
Right.
So the total GMP is not changing.
Right.
And so that's what I wanted, I didn't explain that very clearly.
No, you didn't.
Or at all last time. And so I want to make it clear that we're not really increasing the total GMP. In our language, we get careless and we talk about the GMP as only the construction part. Really, the GMP is the total costs that we're committed to.
Right.
That's what we're committed to.
Well, that is the statement that we've made in multiple meetings was the construction cost, right?
Well, what we said was the project cost.
Right, okay.
We referred back numerous times to the election thing. And that's the project cost, which includes both the construction cost and the design cost together, which is 20,600,000.
But the number that you guys stated was the $19 million statement, right?
Well, it's my understanding that what the commissioners have said over and again is that they're not going to exceed the project.
Yeah.
Now, we may have been careless in our language. We may have talked about construction and left out talking about design. But the intent, as I understand it, of the commissioners all along has been committed to the total cost of the project, not changing. And tie that to the.
And that spreadsheet is what we base the overall contract or the construction costs for this project. So a long time ago.
Okay. Any more questions you have?
I don't have any questions. I mean, I understand exactly what's going on. We're adding, or we're,
One and taking from another. Yeah.
So if you don't have any.
Change order 5, right?
It's change order 5.
What's the amount of that?
196,000.
129.03.
Where?
Right.
I've got it on that piece of paper.
No, you do.
196,100.
So the discussion this morning, if you're listening, is on change order 5. There was a design error and the architects accepted the responsibility for it. First, they billed us 196,000. We said no. Go back and think about what you're asking. And they came back and said it was their error and they paid for it. Correct?
That's correct.
So I'll make a motion to approve change order number 5, which adds the amount of $196,129.03 to the River City GMP and deducts $196,129.03 from Greenberg and BMP, which is the actual engineering company that was hired by the architect. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
No.
2 ayes and 1 no.
Okay, that was everything I had.
The only other thing I had, we've been talking about is, trying to finalize a decision so we can give direction to Goldberg Group on all site pavements. I provided, your office just a little sort of backup information where this was coming from, email threads.
Is that the concrete and the
Yeah,
asphalt?
Yeah, going with all site concrete rather than asphalt paving. We have a locked-in asphalt price now through the end of this season.
Right.
We'll just call that October, November. We'll call it fall. When the asphalt plant shut down, if they have to revisit any asphalt work, it's gonna be based on current oil prices. And our quote was based on oil prices back in March of 2020. They're more than double that now. So, again, if we would proceed with the asphalt pavement, we need to start work sort of as what our baseline schedule is showing. That was poorly communicated by us when establishing that baseline. I had a line item in here demoing this building in the summertime frame. Our original preliminary schedule showed that work happening at the very end of the project.
Right.
That's what you guys still want to do, and I understand that.
We don't even know for sure if we want to demo the building yet. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a fact.
and
Because we're not getting the additional building that we looked at in the beginning,
the
maybe.
government center.
Yeah. So we're not sure.
Okay, and doesn't have to go. I mean, we could still basically run a new parking lot up to this building. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, wrap it. I mean, that could easily be done as
Sure.
well. So,
But the cost difference from asphalt this year, you're anticipating it may go up the following
yeah,
year.
it's going, if we decide to go with all concrete pavement, but want to consider maybe just still doing asphalt, I don't have firm numbers, 'cause we don't
Sure.
know what oil prices are going to be, but I will 100% guarantee you asphalt parking next year will be more than proposed concrete pavement for this year or through the end of the project. So,
Okay. When do you need an answer?
as soon as possible. I mean, we established a goal a couple of weeks ago. We'd like to, and it doesn't have to be today, but all I'm asking, politely asking for is sooner than later.
Okay, we'll discuss it today and try to get,
So
Okay.
what we're talking is the parking lot to the side of the building, nothing.
Oh, no. This is parking lot here
The
to the
entire
side of the
thing.
building on the, I mean, if you look at the site plan, we have asphalt pavement down the east side of the building, going through the Sally Port, over on the west side where the dumpster enclosures are. That's going to be a thicker concrete pavement I mean, the trash trucks are a lot more, damaging to pavements than, normal vehicles. So we have a thicker pavement over there. Normal pavements out here in the annex, just,
And it's asphalt figured in all of it right now.
yes. Well, with the exception of the approaches, like in, the concrete approaches going into a parking lot, those are still concrete, those stay concrete.
But, so your options basically, if you're gonna, I'm assuming you're gonna leave this building till the end.
yeah,
one way or
maybe
another.
the end may be years from now.
So that being, your options are then, to go ahead, if you're gonna stick with asphalt for sure, to go ahead and asphalt everything else, and then asphalt this spot later. That's one option. The second option is hold off on everything and do concrete in the spring, or choose to do asphalt in the spring.
Well, one clarification, I mean, we cannot wait until spring to do all concrete. I mean,
I understand.
yeah, I mean,
Wait till you're ready.
it's a lot easier to like come to a point with our concrete pavement, stop it, still allow this building to be accessed, and then tie onto that later with dowels, and you still get a good product.
I'm all about the concrete. I mean, I just like in front of the dumpsters and stuff. I know that's a necessity. We build dumpster enclosures all the time, and I mean, you put pavement in front of that, it's gonna sink like none other, and it's gonna.
What's the cost difference estimated?
Well, right now, concrete is about 100,000 more than asphalt.
Yeah, it was a $90,000 rough order of magnitude price from Marbury Concrete.
But in the spring, the asphalt's gonna be more expensive.
And
And we included on that, some joint sealant work, and we also included an allowance for extra testing, extra cylinder testing and stuff like that.
So Like,
I said, we talked before too about, gave you guys some ideas on some allowances that most likely would go unused, could easily offset this, so.
But the car wash area is not involved. Anything over there in that area is not involved.
No, sir.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
I don't know.
You want concrete or you want to go ahead and start with asphalt? Or wait?
I don't know.
It's either concrete and asphalt now or it's gonna be $100,000. No, I know, yeah, I got you. So it's either we spend more money now to get concrete or in the spring, if we held off all the way till then and put asphalt, it's gonna cost a lot more anyway, so.
Yeah, with the offsets that are gonna be available, I think the key question is, which is gonna be a better product?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt concrete's probably gonna be a better product.
That's just my thought, that
Yeah.
if you put in an asphalt parking lot and in 5 years, you got to come in and replace
You gotta
it. You have
spray
to
it.
really say, yeah.
I mean, the normal, I talked to a friend of mine, does the work, 8 to 10 years on an asphalt parking lot, but you'll get considerably more on a concrete parking lot, so. And the maintenance on asphalt's a lot higher, so.
I concreted my parking lot across the street here, I hated putting out the money to do it, but not a day has gone by what I'm glad that I did. It's just a better service.
Yeah, I'm all for the concrete. I mean, so we could leave this building, go ahead and concrete, make decisions we need, and then come back later and do this if that's what we want to do.
So, yeah, that was one of our options or plans we talked about a couple weeks back, so.
What do you think?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't guess. I mean, if as long as it don't change the maximum cost, if we got the money there for.
Okay, so what do you,
If you want to have a motion to agree that you're going to go with concrete rather than asphalt, that would suit.
Yeah, and then we'll, need to involve Goldberg Group. If they want to do something different here with the parking layout, maybe option one, if this building stays, and they're gonna have to do a little parking rearrangement. And then, Marbury gave us a rough order of magnitude about 4 months ago. He'll go back and he'll fine tune a few things and really, look at his numbers. I mean, I think it's still a good rough order of magnitude price.
Should we
And
look
also
at the
keep in
numbers
mind too,
first,
it's
or-
based on fiber mesh,
Yeah.
there's no reinforcing it.
I think we ought to have a solid.
We got an
number
email
before we do
from the
anything.
architect saying, he is fine with fiber mesh. So,
can we get some numbers together and just vote on it and be done with it?
You want to spend the effort and the cost to do the final concrete designs, if you're not pretty sure you want to go that direction.
Well, I think we all three are.
Okay,
okay.
We're at least,
so.
unless there's some tremendous amount, it
Well,
sneaks up on us.
I wouldn't blame you there. If something drastically changes with Marbury Concrete that I'm unaware of, then I
Right.
wouldn't recommend it either.
Yeah. So I think the motion would be contingent on no big changes. If you don't, they need something to allow them to go ahead.
Yeah.
This is not a final.
We'll put it together real quick. Say something smart.
A motion to instruct them that your intention at this point is to go with concrete parking lot unless there's some big design.
And dollar figure, what are you saying? I mean,
You said 90 to 100?
Well, it was 90 for Marbury. It's about 106,000. That was total. So also when you do a concrete parking lot, you got a joint seal. That's going to keep the life of the concrete too. So we got 15-foot, saw cuts figured, our caulking sub from Kansas City DH Restoration. They gave us a quote to figure, caulking all site concrete paving on 15-foot centers. So.
So is that 106 that you're talking about
Yes,
include all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Include all that, yeah. Plus an allowance, we threw in a $5,000 allowance for extra testing. There's more testing involved with concrete, more cylinder testing, stuff like that, a lot more yardage.
And if we're pretty confused about, we think we're going to keep this building, which we might do, is that going
That would actually reduce the cost of the
to, a
concrete.
couple thousand?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and where this building is
Yeah.
right now, you're figuring pavement.
Okay,
So it would be less than, so.
okay.
So did you get a motion down, David?
Well, what I had at the moment was move to use concrete for the parking area instead of asphalt, contingent on price changes on concrete.
You okay with that?
Yes, sir.
That's my motion.
It's like,
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All three, 3-0. All right.
Any other questions for me?
No, we wore you out.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any updates on payment schedule for the next few months and into next year, different than what we've had before? I'm working on budgets at the moment.
Yeah, I need to go look at that because I think we were a lot heavier on what we thought the costs were gonna be up front. When I sent you that schedule, we're sort of catching back up now. But I can look at that.
Yeah, if you could get me sometime this week an update
Yeah.
on that I could work with before we publish our budget and help for working this.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right,
So,
thank you.
all right, yep,
Thanks, Warren.
Yep.
Give you a copy of this, so I don't keep it.
sure.
Hey, Warren, I talked to them last week about the storing your brick and stuff inside that car wash. I think we decided that wasn't an issue and that you guys can do that.
Oh, okay. I guess Bill talked with you guys
Yeah. Well, I think we had talked, or I don't know. I talked to somebody
at that
about
last OEC meeting?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That'll work.
Appreciate you,
Thanks.
Sheriff.
Good morning, Commission. Kevin Friend, Linn County Sheriff. Just for the numbers, total 23 prisoners, 17 of those are in-house. We've had 6 bonded released this week. Total farmed out 6. We're down on our 911 calls to about 89. And total calls for service remain pretty steady at 299. So it's a fairly busy week with a lot less emergency type activity. Few events in the community this week, but everything was pretty good, and that's pretty much all I have. I would bring up one concern in regard to what Warren was just talking about, and that's our parking lot here. I'd be a little bit nervous about what Monday morning with the court and commissioners meeting parking lot would look like.
Right.
As well as maybe a few other days a week, and Burton might be able to speak more to those heavy docket days, but I can tell you that on Mondays, we run out of space everywhere to park. And
Right.
I think it could be really problematic, but that's just my opinion. So,
Maybe something we can avoid though, if we don't.
yeah, now maybe, and maybe they have some other parking thoughts. I mean, because really, I mean, probably the west side of the building and the north side of the building's pretty well going to be taken up with my staff. I just don't know where others would be able to park. I mean, this parking lot, I didn't think was sufficient as designed, even with the building gone. So, I don't know, that's my opinion. But any questions for me?
No, sir.
Thank you.
AMR, good morning.
For Galen again.
Okay.
Busy on something else, so just have a couple numbers for you. Derek Kabelka, Supervisor AMR. So far in the past 7 days, we've done 16 transports. Month to date, we've done 40 transports, so it's been a pretty busy month for us. And then Galen had asked for me to ask about an update on the new station 2, or if that's going to be moving
Two?
forward. Or, yeah, the one up in Lake Scene, the senior center.
Oh, yeah.
Any sort of update on
We're
that?
waiting on the bid now for it.
Okay, all right. And that was pretty much all he had for you. Do you have anything from?
I know you have an air conditioner unit out in Centerville. How's that working out? Pretty warm?
A little bit, yeah. We've been doing okay though. We've been doing it with fans and stuff. And I
Okay.
just spoke to Rick right before the meeting, and he's
He
gonna.
went to get you a new one.
Yeah. So we'll be good.
All right.
Good to go.
And tell Galen and Jason that the commissioners from Allen County called me this weekend about your bid there. So I gave them positive feedback.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
I will let him know. Thank you.
Robin, morning. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know. Robin Spencer, Public Health Officer. We left Tisha at the department. She's working on grants and reports and phones and all that fun stuff. I'm going to give COVID numbers and talk about a couple of things. And then Alicia is going to report to you about our recent Becoming a Mother program that just finished up. And then Amanda came over to give you some report on our community baby shower that's going on this week on Wednesday. She's been working really hard on that. So total cases, we're up to 897. Those following along, that's up 16 since our report on Wednesday. So that's the biggest increase we've had since probably late spring. And that's par for every place else too. If you've been watching the news, you know that cases are going up a little bit everywhere. A lot of people are talking about the Delta variant. At our department, everybody we test that's positive, we are sending to the state to see what's here, if we have that variant. The KDHE is reporting that Linn County has one, which so far that's good. I think Bourbon has 8. Miami has 7. Of course, if you go up to Johnson, they have about 300. And then Crawford's getting hit pretty heavy with it. They have 82. 28 active. Of course, that'll be more accurate on our report on Wednesday that's put on the website. We're still at 13 deaths. We have 1 resident in the hospital and 1 new cluster related to a social event. Currently at our department, we've tested 126 people. We still have about 400 tests available. And I want to tell the residents of the county and out of the county, if you're close, again, that we are doing testing for free, completely free. And our equipment is the gold standard. It is the PCR. We have a letter that we can send along with your results in case you're doing like testing for pre-op or pre-travel or post-travel. Some places are telling people that our test isn't good enough, that they have to go to the hospital and get pre-tests or what have you, and it is. It absolutely is, and it's free. I had a resident tell me that they did the home testing. It cost about $24 to do the home test, and it's a rapid test. It's not even as accurate as ours. So I would just encourage people to, if they want tested for any reason, call us, and we'll make an appointment at their convenience to get that done.
Okay.
Can you talk about the regulations that we have going on right now? I've had a few people reach out to me, if you test positive, what do you need to do? I mean,
Sure, I can. And I understand that people maybe have forgotten because we have been low on numbers and stuff. So the big thing to remember is the difference between isolation, which means that you have tested positive, whether you've tested positive for a procedure or you're sick. You go into isolation, and that is a full 10 days from the start of your symptoms or the day you were tested positive. We go by whichever is first. And it's 10 days. You can't test out of that. You're in isolation because you have it. After the 10 days, if you're symptom-free, you can go back to work, school, whatever needs to be done. Now, quarantine is also 10 days, but that means you've been exposed to somebody that's tested positive. It means you've been in close proximity. And quarantine is 10 days in our county from the time of your last exposure to the positive case. Now, we did go ahead and adopt a test out option in quarantine if you don't have any symptoms. After day 5, you can test, and if that test is negative, we'll let you go back at day 7 instead of 10, so it gets you back about 3 days sooner. Quarantine still means you can't be around other people. We do not quarantine contacts of positives, meaning if you've been quarantined, we don't quarantine all the people around you too, unless you show up with symptoms or positive. Does that make sense? Did I answer the question? Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Oh, hang on. I want to talk about free sports physicals. We're doing those Friday and Tuesday, Friday the 23rd, Tuesday the 27th, from 8:30 to 2. That's walk-in basis. They do not have to have a parent with them. There are forms, if you don't have one, to download from online, from KDHE or KSHA. And it's better if you can do that and have that filled out because there's a lot of medical questions and immunizations, and parents can help out with that. Parents are welcome to come, but they don't have to. If those times don't work, or your kiddo just decides late in the game that, oh yeah, I need a physical, call the department. I'd be glad to do those by appointment, and they're free. We do have walk-in vaccination, COVID vaccination clinics at least once a week, usually on Wednesdays from 8:30 to noon. Again, if you can't make that time, call us and we'll figure out how to get you one. We don't necessarily have to have the whole 5 for the vial now. KDHE has said if somebody wants it, figure out a way to get them one, even if you have to waste some. And we have plenty of vaccines available. I am going to do just a pop-up walk-in clinic at Silver Creek Pharmacy this Thursday from 10 to 2, hoping to get the lunch hour people. And that's just walk-in basis if you want it. We have, in our county, we've fully vaccinated about 33% of our residents. That's pretty close to the Kansas rate too. Kansas says that they've done 39, so the whole state of Kansas, about 39% of people are fully vaccinated. And that's pretty close to Bourbon at 38. Crawford's done a little better. They have 43. Miami has 38, so that's about how many vaccines were given. I think that's all I have. You guys have questions?
I don't.
Okay.
So becoming a mom class is a prenatal class that, grandparents and fathers can also attend. We had 5 participants, which is up from last year, when all the COVID stuff started. We had 3 then. We did 3 on Zoom and 2 in person. Everybody completed 4 or more classes, and so it was pretty successful. As far as who contributed to it, other than myself, Amanda, Robin, and Cynthia. We also had Kansas Works. Christine is her name. Franny from K-State Research and Extension helped out. Amy Jo with Parents as Teachers. Allie from Auburn's. Dr. Hagman from Olathe Health System. Actually, she did 2 different sessions. So to me, it was pretty successful. I mean, we have 80 to 120 births a year. So, I mean, if we can do it 4 times a year and get 20 people, I think that's pretty decent for me anyway. I don't know what y'all think.
Lacey, is that a grant that you get for that? Is there a grant for that or not?
So it's through MCH, but they don't increase our funds.
Okay.
Our funds is based off of our population. It really doesn't change much.
And you said there was like several classes. How long?
It's 6.
A person enrolls in it? How many, is it weeks or days?
So there's 6 2-hour sessions.
Okay.
So they would need to commit to 2 hours a week or however they see fit. I have tossed around the idea of maybe recording a Zoom and seeing if there's a way that people can do it on their own time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to coordinate with Tisha and Chris and see if we can get that going. So that way, and the in-person, there's something to be said about the connection with in-person and having that support for them. But if that's something that's easier for folks, then that would be something on my radar. I think Tisha as well. So the first one is all about pregnancy, and it's like the prenatal care, the tests, illnesses of concern while pregnant. The second one's healthy pregnancy, effects of good and bad nutrition, drugs, alcohol, prescription meds. The third one's labor and delivery, creating a birth plan, all about that stuff. And again, this is all completely free, and they get incentives every single time they come. When I had my kids, I had to take a day off of work and pay for it. So it's, to me, it's nice. The fourth one's feeding, whether it's breastfeeding, bottle feeding, how to do that, and different things to help them. Newborn and infant care is the next one, safe sleep, choking, crying, development, and then the last one's postpartum care. So that's all about that. I think I'm hoping to start maybe the end of August, beginning of September for the next group.
How do you get the word out to people?
We are using all the social media platforms. I think we're going to put a flyer in the community baby shower.
Churches would be probably an excellent way as well.
Thought about that too.
Yeah.
I think we've shared with them in the past, but so. And then things upcoming. I know Tisha's probably already told you guys that and I know Robin just said we had sports physicals. We have a upcoming CPR class. We have the breastfeeding brunch, school nurse brunch. Our last Funshine group for the summer is on the 30th, and so we'll do food safety on that one. Each one, while there's fun activities, fine motor skills, gross motor skills the kids get to do. We've read to them. We've done all kinds of activities with them. There's also educational things added to that. And then we're having our weekly walk-in clinics for COVID shots.
So you're busy.
Yes,
Good.
and COVID is keeping me on my toes.
Anybody got any questions?
No.
Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. Amanda showed your face here.
I haven't been here in a while.
I know, we missed you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Amanda Snyder. I'm with the health department. I'm the breastfeeding peer counselor and home start visitor. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the baby shower. I know Tisha has been mentioning it to you the past few weeks, but it is this Wednesday. It is part community baby shower, part touch a truck event. So I've been working with Deputy Clayton Parscale, and he's kind of been organizing the touch a truck part, where he'll have some different emergency vehicles, fire trucks. If AMR is available, they will come. Wildlife and parks, just some different equipment outside. Road and Bridge is going to bring some stuff for kids to explore, learn about. At 6 o'clock, he has scheduled for the fire truck to hose down any kids that want to be sprayed with water.
Oh, that's great.
So that'll be outside. The event runs from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's at the First Baptist Church, just right outside town. Inside, we have 15 different educational vendor booths. We have 3 food vendors coming. We have gathered or made 30 different baby baskets to give away. So the first 30 families that come that are either expecting or have had a child within the last 6 months will be given this basket that's full of baby essentials. We have a safe sleep presentation. That's an hour-long presentation that Cynthia and myself will do just to educate on safe sleep. We have some portable cribs that we are able to give away there if people don't have a crib or a safety-approved device to put their baby down in. We have been doing some advertisement on all of the Fort Scott radio stations. So if you listen to any of those, you may have heard about the baby shower. We've also have a little video that's been playing on Facebook that we created. We've had flyers around town. So we're hoping for a positive turnout. Come out if you have time, if you want to bring your kids out, grandkids. It should be a good time. We're looking forward to it.
Make any
Do you guys ever, like, how they put, when a kid's born, they put in the newspaper sometimes, do you ever reach out to those individuals and just kind of let them know what we got going on? And
Could you say the first part of that again?
like, how they put in the newspaper sometimes when a kid's born?
Oh.
Do we ever reach out to them and kind of just let them know what we got going on? Or if you see someone like Facebook that had a kid, I mean, maybe.
Right. I don't think we have a protocol for that. I don't know if we have in the past. I don't think we get the paper at the health department. I don't. Oh, sorry. Robin does. Sorry. Yes. Okay. But that's definitely something I could put on my radar.
I just didn't know if that was something like, if you see somebody on Facebook that had a kid, is it something, I mean, would it be out of line to reach out to them and
I don't think it would be. Yeah, no, I don't think it would be. We've also talked about recently putting together like a health department mailer. And doing like every door-to-door mailing just to let people know what our services are and what's offered. Because there are a lot of services that we have that I believe a lot of people think are income-based, and they're not. Just like if somebody needed help with breastfeeding or somebody wanted their car seat checked, anything like that. I mean, we're more than happy to help with anything like that we can. But no, that's a great idea.
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Doug messaged me, he said he was sick today, so
Okay.
I don't know if I don't think he sends any numbers or anything, but.
Go ahead, Burton.
Burton Harding, County Attorney.
Burton gave the prisoners off today. No court, right?
Say that again?
No court today, right?
No court today, no court today. Maybe not tomorrow too, we'll see. But anyways, things are going along pretty well. Not much to say. I just filed a big last batch of stuff, I think, from 2020. So after this, I should be all caught up as far as.
July, you know that, Burton. You said you're just done with 20.
Well, there is a stack when we got in there. I think we got about done now, or at least all filed now. Things are going pretty good. We're up on our. I think we've got about $2,800 or so from diversion applications that are coming back to the county this year. So I'm pretty happy about that. Also, I've been talking to the sheriff about the Children's Coalition. He's been a big proponent of that. And so working with him, we've now put in a line on our diversion agreements that to be approved for diversion, you have to make a $10 donation to the Children's Coalition. So I'm hoping that'll get about $1,000 or $1,200 a year. So it's towards that. Other than that, I guess, and maybe to speak to the sheriff's comment about parking, just for what it's worth, and this might be something I have to look into more, but as far as this district court goes, it's hard to say what things are going to look like next year or 2 years or 3 years from now as far as courts go. I know that our current district court judge wants to do things in person as much as possible. Our magistrate judge wants to do things in Zoom as much as possible. And our chief judge, I think, intends on doing everything by Zoom for the rest of her career. As far as I think that seems to be the attitude that things should be done virtually. So I guess if things are done, if things are going to be done in person, I think the concern we have most would be a jury trial. When we have a jury trial, you're going to summon 36 to 50 people, maybe 60 jurors to come in to select your 12. We're going to have 2 courtrooms, so I guess your worst case scenario is you have 60 jurors summoned while there's a divorce case or something going on in the small courtroom. So, that would
Parking's at a premium.
yeah, parking would be at its premium. Now, how often, that scenario is likely to happen? Not often. And again, the jury selection takes, half a day to a day most of the time. So it won't be often or for extended periods of time. But I guess that would be my thoughts on what you'd be thinking about as far as parking goes.
So if they're trying to stick to Zoom and all that stuff, what's the purpose of having 2 courtrooms in our new building?
Well, I don't want to defer anything, but obviously I wasn't a part of any of those decisions and continue not to be. But
I think you voted on that.
having 2 courtrooms could have its advantages. I mean, although I guess I probably just can't comment. I don't know.
That's good. Probably not.
Where are we at on the timeline on our assistant attorney?
As far as needing an assistant attorney,
Well, I thought we got him for like 6 months to take care of the old cases.
sure.
My understanding.
So I think my position was my hope was that by July 1, I would have the docket to a place where it had gotten back to what I'll call manageable and maybe can be done by a single attorney. And things have gotten a lot more manageable than they were. I didn't come prepared with numbers, but I know that those dockets still are, the misdemeanor dockets, I'll say. The felony docket is a lot more manageable than it was. The misdemeanor docket is much bigger, but also smaller than it was in January. I'll audit, what my assistant's doing in terms of time he's spending, and I know what he's doing in court, but as far as out of time preparing and all that, and can get a pretty clear idea of how much longer if it'd be necessary to have an assistant or, where we really are with that. But again, I'm sorry I didn't come quite prepared for that, but that's
I
still.
just remember it was 6 months, or that was the time, kind of the timeline.
Sure.
Where was that?
I don't have a solid answer as far as that goes, but other than to say things are a lot more manageable, which is where I'd hoped they'd be. And if.
How'd that reflect on your proposed budget? Did you include him again?
Yes, I did. That he was part of that proposed budget, and if that would change if he wasn't part of it.
Okay.
How many roughly how many diversions are you giving out this year compared to last year?
The numbers that I have are the diversions applied for, not the diversions granted. So I don't know how many are granted, especially compared to how many were granted last year. I guess one number I have that I did get recently that's a positive number, I think, is I got the numbers for what my office was paying for other attorneys to fill in for the county attorney when the county attorney wasn't available or for whatever reason in 19, 20, and 21. I think in 2019, the county spent about $3,053 or something like that paying other attorneys to fill in for the county attorney's office.
Right.
In 2020, it was $3,300 for other attorneys to fill in. And this year to date, my office paid out $367 for other attorneys to fill in. So we're doing a lot better about the county attorney being present and not incurring those costs of paying other attorneys to show up. So I know that doesn't answer your question, just made me think about it, but I can find that out for you too.
Anybody else got any questions?
I don't have any.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bert.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. John, you're up.
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. Those are just the work schedules you asked me to look into.
Oh,
Just a copy of those for your information. We should be nearing the end of the Blue Mound Lacing projects for finishing bids, and I should be hopefully coming to you shortly to try to get those projects moving in the next phase. This week I met with the foremans, worked on a capital equipment list and things that they needed to move as far as equipment and planning for the next possibly 3 years. I hope in the next couple of weeks to come to you with not only some requests, but a plan and a budgeting plan for those items. Road and Bridge, been doing a lot of culvert road work. We did have one employee who volunteered and mowed over the weekend. The cell project at the landfill is complete to this stage. It's been surveyed. We're waiting. The surveyor will send the survey over to Terracon. Terracon will then complete their work, and then hopefully we'll get certified by the state. And we'll call that project complete. Pleasanton, our all district, obviously they've been chipping and sealing on 1100, and we'll be continuing that project. I'll be working with David, hopefully today or tomorrow, to find out what the budget is and to put a scope to that project and where we're going to finish that project up in the Parker area. Parks, I believe somewhere or sometime this week, we will be interviewing for the manager position and hopefully getting that resolved. Noxious weeds will begin training this week and hopefully testing the week after and get certification there so we can begin I think it's August spraying. Mapping, we'll talk at some point about the request for the imaging on it. And then this weekend, you're aware that we had the AMR call out for the air conditioner. We're resolving that this morning. And then another issue at the 4-H building, which should be just an issue with the propane or the stove unit in there. And we should be able to resolve it and get it going back up pretty quickly. The counters went out on the 500 and Lee Row area. We had some computer issues going on, and we got the counters out there, and we're starting that clock to try to get that 2-week count back to you.
Is that about that road closure? That road.
Yes. Yeah, we discussed where we wanted to do a 2-week count on the 2 avenues or approaches from that area. Not also going to do some tree work and prepping the senior center and stuff and cleaning that up. Planning and zoning, we're getting our feet wet. And Bobby's been working on some of those issues. And then I've been keeping up with the ones that I'd started so that he doesn't have to take on more projects, as he learns that position. And I'm going to be working with the planning and zoning committee. They met, and I'll be working with Pleasanton as well on a conditional use permit. That's all I had at this point, and I'll probably need 15 minutes personnel with HR and yourselves, and then possibly just 5 minutes legal.
I got a few questions.
Sure.
wait, just 1 second. Hey, did you already include that, David, on your,
That was someone I had on there was.
for him? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can we keep track of all the money we spend in asphalt this year and compare it to like next year? Can we seriously look at going out on bid, try to get like Superior Bowen and all them to come in here and look at chip sealing?
Chip sealing what? You mean
Or doing the asphalt, taking over the
overlay or what? Okay.
Like, Cause we're just not, I mean, my roads are horrible. My ditches haven't been mowed on my road one time this year. And I think it's, I don't know if it's due all to asphalt, everybody having to go over there. I mean, I know it's not very dry, or it's not very dry right now because all this rain and stuff, which is uncommon, but I just don't see how we're gonna keep up with the roads, ditches and asphalt like next year. I mean, this year's been, in my opinion, horrible. The roads, I mean, I got pictures of the roads they're horrible. And I don't know if it's because we're pulling everybody off the roads and everything and go to do the asphalt. I don't know.
I can't answer that, but I do know that we do have one contract job that Todd asked me to check on today on a timeline on, I believe, it may have been 52 from 7 over towards Parker that we've got a contractor bid out to do. But I'll be looking at those costs with David, and I can try to come up with something and see whether it's more effective to contract that.
And I know that haven't we done that before, Rick? And you guys said that we've contracted out and they just didn't do a good job.
Yeah, we've contracted it out before, so a couple of different times. When Jackie was here, and no, it worked fine. What's it called, crack seal? That guy didn't work out very well. At least one contract didn't work out very well. Had to come back and do it again. But
Do we typically hold retainage and stuff on them?
We normally would have a contract.
come on up, road foreman.
I did see over the weekend, you had somebody mowing Saturday and Sunday. I did see.
Yes, we had a volunteer to come in, and we'll keep asking for volunteers to come in on the weekends to do as much mowing as we can. Yes, volunteers for overtime.
There you go.
Harry said he wants comp time and come in on the weekend and then take comp time back.
What's going on in your area? Pretty bad. What about the washouts that we usually have in?
They're not too bad. I did go down and check Queens this morning on my way through, and it's actually got to the road, knocking the road off. And I'm gonna get mapping Joyce and see if we've got any kind of easement where we can put something in there.
Okay.
Or not.
It runs along the river. Yeah.
To the road.
It's made it to the road. Yeah.
That's same with Waddles Road. And I don't know if you got my video over the weekend or not. That was, I mean, if you stood there, you could literally see the water is coming back in there, and it was eating the bank away. So
We need to make some calls on that stuff if it's getting dangerous, if we have to close the road or whatever. I mean,
can we put up like some kind of reflective, I mean, right there on that corner on Waddles Road? Just because, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, if you get over there, I mean, it'll.
And I did get those images, and Harry went out and checked that area right afterwards.
Boy Court area, it always floods out through there, and Industrial Road, I call it. I forgot the name of the road. It's always railroad track.
Good on that. It's just all the, I don't know, we had some flooding Saturday night, but that was more on the Miami County side.
Just been real spotty where the rain will be 2 inches in a little area and then there won't be anything down the road a little ways and it's just tearing everything.
Parker area's been.
There's a road that I've never seen flood before.
Yeah.
That's the way I've seen things run over this
Yeah,
weekend that
this
I haven't
weekend.
seen run over in a while.
Yeah. They had about 6 inches up at Beaver Creek Road there in Miami County. The roads were flooded. Roads were flooded all the way around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly when it went down. All right. Anything else going on?
I'm doing more man, full-time guy, he's mowing, I didn't mow him, so I got a full-time mower here. Part-time mower, he's flagging for chip seal. 2-blade guys, 3-blade guys,
Out
and then
helping them.
that's my switch here, couple days, get my blades back out. Couple days, and he can put his back out.
Okay.
With me being out.
I think maybe we've got an interview this week maybe.
For your mechanic.
Okay.
But we sure have some spots out there, like you say, that just, over the weekend, it got ate up pretty bad, but it's,
Big Bull, I only got half inch.
right.
They've all come from somewhere else.
You got anything? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. You're gonna have some bids to me this week on the senior center in Lacey.
I hope to have it this week. I know I'll have it
Before we move any of that stuff out of there, we gotta talk because that group of ladies that are signed up with that. There's only 2 of them left, but I wanna.
The only steps I'll take at this point are like tree clearing outside, getting ready for the project. I'm not gonna do anything until we get approval and go forward in the building.
Okay. So we have public comment, and I see you sitting there, so you must have something.
Yeah.
Are you on the schedule? Jesse Willard, Fred? Okay,
Just want to step up and say your name, know what you're doing.
I seen it just now.
Give us all the good facts.
Okay,
Brett, if you could just, when you get on the mic, just tell me your name and where you're from and what you're doing.
got one extra of these. It would be the one that.
give that to the attorney.
Well, great. That first top cover is who I really am, Fred Hermas, and I live over in West Wichita. Lived in pretty much Kansas all my life. Been in senior care for 35 years, it seems like. In fact, I have. I'm pretty much an expert on senior care operations, design, facility development. The last 13 years, I've developed over $140 million worth of senior care properties. We'll kind of run through that. My actual bachelor's degree is architecture, and back in the mid 80s, I kind of worked heavy on gerontology, long-term care administration. You know, I continued to try to educate myself. I'm a graduate of the Stegan Integral Leadership Program out of Dallas. I also have a leading out of drama, skilled practitioner, Next Element out of Newton. And so, you know, I've been around Kansas quite some time. You know, I am a licensed adult care home administrator. Here are some of the projects or some of the facilities I've run over the last year or over the last 35 years. Started in Oswego, Kansas. I opened up Stony Brook in Manhattan for several years, went to Catholic Care Center as their CEO. Halstead Health and Rehab, I took an old facility there that was much like what we're going to talk about in Prescott, and it was shut down for a couple of years. We renovated that and brought it all back into all private rooms. Then I went out on my own in 2007, got some partners. We developed family health and rehab in Wichita, skilled nursing facility. I ran that. Of course, I was a regional director for Midwest Health Services. These, then on the next page, are some of the facilities that actually own or have partnership in now, which are really basically 5 skilled nursing facilities, 3 in the Wichita area, 1 in Kansas City, 1 in near Denver, Colorado, and then we have several assisted living facilities. We built the Derby one, we built the Vita Rolling Hills and memory care, we purchased Marion. I have the interest in the Teresa House in McKinney, Texas, and we bought the Coolidge facility. Also have ownership in a couple Home Pluses in and around the area. So that's kind of the thing. Then I list the 18 different facilities that we actually developed. And then I give you some references. So that's basically who I am. So I'm here really kind of talk a little bit about the Prescott facility that was shut down a few years back. Jesse contacted me over a year ago. I'm not even sure how you found me, to be honest, but nevertheless, we've been kind of talking back and forth. And I've been up a few times and met with Jennifer Hightower back in late April.
Did you looked at the facility? Have you been in it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, the thought here is that we'd renovate it and bring it up to speed in terms of licensing. That would take not a ton of work, but a lot. It needs a fresh look. We'd convert it all into private rooms. At one point in time, it was 2 residents per room and a bathroom. We don't do that anymore. That's kind of old school. Everything I've done in the last 13 years, private rooms. My mother used to tell me, you wouldn't check into a hotel and let them put you in a room with a perfect stranger, would you? No. And so why do people do that in nursing facilities? And so that kind of, so new flooring, carpet, paint, all new equipment, mattresses, beds, those kinds of things. Just needs kind of brought back up to speed. The structure itself's in pretty good shape. It does have some plumbing problems that doesn't look like it'd be too hard to deal with. And with Jesse being and heating and air conditioning, those things need to be brought, not necessarily new, but brought back up on the grid and going. And so the thought then would be is to take it has kind of 2 parts to it. It has the original facility, then it was built onto, I believe, in the early 90s. And when they built onto it, it was kind of a Medicare thing that they were trying to do. And so it's 2 rooms that share a bathroom, but they're separate rooms. So the thought would be is to take it from the original, 60, 70, 80 bed facility down to 27 private rooms, all having private baths. And then the newer part that was built in early 90s, change that into a residential care, which is assisted living without the kitchenette. Okay, so the licensure, Kansas licensure distinguishes the 2 differences is they're both assisted living, but if they don't have a kitchenette, they call it residential care. And so there's 12 rooms there, convert that so they have a bedroom and a living room, and then their own bathroom, shower area. Convert that into 6 residential care, 27 skilled nursing facilities. And so then, looking at doing both potentially how we worked it out, a nonprofit and a profit LLC, depending on how that works out with operations and the bricks and mortar. I've always done bricks and mortar as separate LLC than the operations. It just works out better, and you can work with them different. I list some things that, basically in terms of preliminary budgets, and I'll kind of go through those a little bit here in a minute. But I did some preliminary budgeting on it and sprinkled that out through 5 years. So basically, kind of the highlights, it's as all buildings do when we start up a new building, by the time you're paying everything, you got working capital, we got a deficit. And that's right now being projected out at about $550,000. Deficit in the second year less. We're looking at 35 plus full-time equivalents, which means about 45 jobs, roughly. A full-time equivalent being 40 hours a week. One individual, one full-time equivalent is 1 40-hour position. Annual payroll about 1.3, a little over 1.3 million. New dollars being brought into the county, almost $2 million. And that might need some explaining a little bit. So right now, you don't have a facility in the county at all. So your individuals go somewhere else, and if they're Medicaid, the Medicaid helps fund that. If they're Medicare, the Medicare helps fund that. If they're private pay, they're giving money to somebody else's county. If they're private insurance, that's going to somebody else's county. New dollars, Medicare, and it didn't cost you anything to have those dollars other than the supportive facility to coming into your county. So that's that page. Here, this is a little more breakdown on the Linn County benefits. So I just kind of go over some of the positions and some of the dollars. And you can see that by the time we kind of get down to the end, This is just the annual income, doesn't include things like retirement, health insurance. Those things are all budgeted in. I do not do facilities that are not interested in helping people long-term. It's important to me that we do decent health insurance for people, and then if we can throw the vision and the dental and stuff like that on, we do. We try to do fund some retirement. In fact, I was probably one of the first in the state years ago. Many facilities would have a little different health insurance for their professionals than they did, say, their housekeepers and the nurses' aides. I don't do that. I make sure that they all have good health insurance because every single employee is important. So I budgeted that in with what I do because to me it's win-win or no game. Then, of course, this next page, Linn County benefits new funds into the Linn County. That sheet basically it goes to show you this is what's on the budget. So Medicare, Medicaid dollars, if they go to another county, the state helps fund that. Medicaid basically is a program where you spend down your assets. The state and comes in with the funds to help fund the facility. So if somebody can afford, say their income is roughly $1,000, something like that a month, and the cost is say $6,000, the state's going to bring in $5,000 to pay for that, and those are dollars you guys aren't getting. Medicare the same way, only Medicare pays for 100% the first 20 days, and then there's a coinsurance after that, and with the Medicare program, it pays for short-term rehab. So somebody fell, broke their hip, had a hip replacement, and they come in the facility after, say, a 3-night hospital stay, and government's looking at waiving that now, and might stay, 2 or 3 weeks, get rehab, go home. And so that's an important part of that, and those dollars then help fund. Of course, then you got the whole managed care stuff, private insurance. On the residential, those 6 units, you'd be dealing with the HCBS, which is a state program. And so it just kind of goes to show you that the, dollars coming in is significant. And as you guys know, you're experienced in it, is those dollars tend to spin off 7 times. And so for every $1 million, the impact to the county is more like 7. And so if we're talking just under $2 million, including insurance stuff, that could be a significant chunk of change spinning off into the area. The next several pages just kind of some budgets kind of show you did the first just the 5-year projection preliminary, and then the next 4 or 5, well, it's stapled. That's kind of the support of that. Now I will tell you I have it down here. That's a 20-page document that pulls into each one of these sheets. So I get pretty detailed. The banks I've dealt with in the past love it, because I've got such a great detail in regards to every single department. And but I didn't want to print all that stuff off for you. It'd probably bore you to death. This next page then is basically a preliminary cost breakdown, what things would cost, and that feeds into the budget, and that'll go to show you.
Where's that at?
That's this kind of blue page.
This one? Environment, okay.
Hey, you get your hand on it.
Okay.
So that'll kind of, there's like 4.6 acres, square feet, there's about 15,000, but it'll kind of go through your equity projected cost, building renovation cost, 970,000. Then I'd throw, of course, contingencies in there, architectural fees. We've got to get somebody in. So I'm sure, you have permits and stuff, and there's certain rules. I and I will tell you, when I budget, I'm pretty conservative in that I like to hit my budgets. All right. I don't like projects that we're coming in 4 months later saying, oh, we missed it by 10%. Drives me crazy. So I try to be pretty conservative and do a little bit of over budgeting so that things hit pretty well. Certain things you don't need, the building's already there, like a survey, that kind of stuff you don't. Water tap fees, because we're in Kansas, it's great. If I was in Denver, Colorado, it would be $75,000 just tap into the sewer. Yeah, and so it's nice to be out and save some money and things. Bringing back in furniture, fixtures, equipment, you've got all those kinds of things. Development contingency cost, all good. Development services fee, that's me. And then it comes down and kind of puts that stuff together, bank debt, whatever. So just show you that we're working on it, and you've got good numbers. I want you to know you got good numbers. I do this a lot and have for 30 years. So I'm probably one of the very few people in this state that can blend both the building and the management, because I have a degree in architecture and I've run these facilities for 30 years, and I own a company that runs at Axiom Healthcare Services. So that's kind of where I'm at. The next then is just some of the things I would do as the development thing, just kind of spells that out a little bit for you. And then when I met with Jennifer Hightower here a couple of months ago, she wanted, I guess her big concern was, do you have management companies that would manage it? I'm not saying I will manage it. And Jesse and I have talked about it. He's like, why don't you manage it? Well, I'm to the place in life, I like doing this. I don't want to be bogged down with the management. I have a company that does management. And so one of those, she asked me to get some letters of just interest. And I went out and got the two best, I thought, in the state of Kansas. There are others that would be interested. One of them is our company, Axiom Healthcare Services. That list of 18 facilities we already manage. We manage skilled nursing facilities. At any given time, just in Wichita, we have about 60 people in short-term rehab. We have, at any given time in all of our facilities, we're looking after about 450 residents. We have about 1,000 employees. And our nursing facilities are all 5-star rated. In fact, Derby Health and Rehab has been deficiency-free 3 years in a row. That is the only facility in the state of Kansas that can say that. Two of our other facilities, 2 years in a row. And so we run extremely high-quality facilities. We run them effectively, efficiently, and so forth. So one of those is Axiom CEO Chance, is our president and CEO of Axiom Healthcare Services. The other individual is AmeriCare. I've known Steve Hattlestead for 20, 25 years, and good relationship with them. AmeriCare does rural facilities. That's what they do. They own them and they manage them, and they own and manage several in the state of Kansas.
But they wouldn't own this one.
Well, no.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a kind of a different deal, but they would be happy to manage.
Okay.
And so now, that doesn't say, and kind of in our profession, you get something up and going and it's in the black in 3 years, then you got all kinds of other options. You can sell it, you can refinance it through HUD, you can do all kinds of things. But you first have to kind of get it up and going and put that effort in. Now they would be, and I have in the budget a management services fee. That's all built into the budget. And I talked to both these about this. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not several other people that would be interested. Paradigm, Willie Novotny, I think you might even talk to Willie at one time, would be interested. These are the two best. Midwest Health Services out of Topeka, they have a lot of facilities. Mission Healthcare, big national company, all those. But those would be, if it was me, those are the two that I would certainly want to do. Now, what's needed. You know, this is a rural facility. It needs some help to get going. And get where it needs to be. And that can be in all kinds of different ways, shapes, and forms. You know, I would love not to have to pay property taxes on it, get that out of the budget. It would be nice to have, you know, the county kind of help support it so that it can get off and into the black and running. And then, you know, there's all kinds of options, whether the county would want to own it, put it in a nonprofit, you know, just whatever kind of help. And I think Jesse has a little better feel for what he may be thinking on that grounds. But what I want you guys to know is this is you know, not my first rodeo by a long shot. And it's probably one of the smallest projects I've ever done. I'm used to doing large projects in different areas. And right now, one of my projects is helping a friend of mine, and we just finished one in McKinney, Texas, and getting ready to break ground another one in September, and that's a $6 million project. And you know, some of our projects have been 10 million, 12 million, 16 million, and just kind of depending where it is. But my roots are from rural Kansas, and you know, I have a real tendency to have a great feeling for that. I have several of my mother's first cousins don't live far from here. Moran, Branson. I have a relative, and I'll stop and see her on the way back, that runs the Milford, that's not right. Mildred, excuse me, grocery store. And Regina and Lauren Lance. Yeah. And so I keep thinking I'm going to get up on these Saturdays and go to the
dance with
music,
them?
dance, do
There
the
you go.
dancing. And so nevertheless, you know, I know several people in the area that have been out here many times, deer hunted a couple times.
So when one of these management companies come in and they say they sign a deal to take over Jesse's building, I mean, how many year contract do you guys do?
Typically, we'll do a 3 to 5 with an option to renew. So it just depends on what.
So when that happens, do you expect Jesse to get the building up to par? And then, I mean.
Yeah, well, it gives whoever's in control of it some options. You know, you could, the problem is a small facility like this it's really hard because it's hard to hire the expertise. That's why you need a management company. They have several. They have, you know, very high quality RNs that just focus on the clinical piece. Just the billing, you know, the billing and Medicaid's hard enough. Medicare's a nightmare if you don't have expertise. So it's hard to hire that one individual that's going to do several pieces of that, where a management company has experts in the Medicare billing, experts in the Medicaid billing, experts in the financial, experts in the clinical, and all the other good things. So the idea is you hire a management company that then bases their fee on the income and income collected. And so that's kind of, but you know, there's other options to go. I would not recommend them. I'd recommend a good quality management company.
Fred?
His question was, in terms of getting the facility ready.
Yeah.
Is that Jesse? Is that you as a developer, or is that the manager?
No,
Who's writing the checks for that? That's what we want to know.
yeah, I would be the one that would be working with Jesse to get the building ready.
Okay.
And if you go back and look at some of those services, you'll see a lot of that in there. What I would do as part of that. So, you know, I've already been working on it. So the renovation needs, renovation costs, developing all the budgets for the furnishes, FF&E, you know, developing all the budgets. Then I also work with the architects and the builders, and there frequently do weekly calls to coordinate with them, what's the progress, that kind of stuff. then it has several licensing categories you have to go through. So I would be there to not only write and have the policies and procedures that you have to submit, get approved, and then the Kansas Department of Disability Services does the licensing for both the federal government and the state. I got the fire marshal's license, any local guys, which.
Now, are there fines on that facility that have to be paid before you can reopen it?
There was, when they closed, horrible management or whatever it was.
Those don't follow the ownership.
Those are associated with the last one.
Right, yeah. So, but anyhow, then do that. I'd also fill out, there's tons and tons of forms you got to fill out to get licensed, both on the state and federal side, on the fire marshal side, and because the residential care would be HCABS, that's a whole nother group too. And so it's not the funnest part of my job, but it's something I've done multiple times and it's been successful. So, and then kind of help follow them through in terms of working with management company, whoever it is, in order to get people hired and get them in place.
So obviously, Fred, you gave a great presentation. What are you asking of the county? Because there's got to be something you're asking, right?
Yeah.
So what are you asking of the county?
Well, I think the basics of it are we're asking the county to support a nonprofit to help get it up, get started, with Fred being basically oversight developer, to help develop the property as well as the operations. And then what we're saying is if we can get some support.
Like what? Like you got a dollar figure, percentage? I'm just asking. I'm not being mean. I just want to know, because that's what you're asking for, county dollars.
Sure. You're getting.
Oh,
So
I'm trying to, because we're keep going.
Operational company, nonprofit, and I would assume the responsibility of the building, and then you guys can lease it from me. We got to get it all up and going, and he would oversee that it was done properly on the property side as well as the operations.
Do you have something in writing you could give us that we'll know that, I don't know what dollar figure, if you're wanting a taxing. So you're asking the county for $750,000?
We could do it to kind of get that started for that plan and developing, but there's different ways we could do it. We could do a yearly support, so we could do our own financing if we need to. I mean, if you guys are like, yeah, we need a nursing home, we want to support one. You guys can do a lump sum, you could do a yearly support. What I'd like to see, because I've kind of looked into the depths, the details, the way you guys can finance things, and I would like to discuss some ways that you could even do it. Because even if you said you would like to, there's going to be a challenge the next step doing financing, and there are some ways you could do it. My way of thinking is, if you done a county support, you guys can support us with $1 million and give us, it'd be like $250,000, $300,000 to the nonprofit, and it would only cost taxpayers $1 a month if they live in a $100,000 house. And looking at your budgeting and the ways that you guys support things, and I don't see how for the benefit the nursing home would bring, for the amount of the little bitty hurdle that the taxpayers would have to pay. I can't see the negative in it, and I can't see where the taxpayers, I just can't see them not wanting that.
So particularly if it creates a lot of jobs, a lot of money. Your question is an excellent one, by the way. I'm thinking let's get it off the property tax rolls so we don't have to fund that, but also to generate a way, because we're talking about a rural facility, and we're a little bit at loss, because normally when I go into these bigger counties, their EDOC people far more aggressive, and they come to the table with that. This is what we, X, Y, and Z. And so Jesse's been trying to handle that on his own, trying to do his own research and figure out how do we get from here to there. And that's fine, but that's what we need to figure out. It needs funding for the first several years to get where it needs to be. After that, there's all kinds of options. We've talked about, okay, forming a company and then that leases that building back from Jesse, and then at a certain point in time, that can be pulled into another entity and stop the lease, and then the financials even become better on it. So, excellent question. We're still trying to work that out, to be honest, and I've let Jesse, because his county, and he seems to know some people and likes to do the research and figure it out. But
So Danny's been involved in just a little bit when he came in about this, and the past two commissioners was involved a lot in it, because you've come over the last couple of years and talked about it plenty.
just
And
really passionate about it.
he is a passionate individual. My question is, though, is we would be asking taxpayers, and this is me looking as a taxpayer,
Right?
to invest in $750,000 on a private company. Just hear me out. And that the past company failed so miserable at over the years and had $1 million in fines. I mean that'd be a hard sell to probably anyone if you put it in those terms.
Yeah.
So why would we want to do that now?
Well, there's a reason that facility shut down. You mentioned it, bad management. We don't do bad management. I went out and found you the very best management companies, not crappy ones. And I wouldn't even suggest that you even do it at that route. The thing of it is, though, is that your county's shipping all its money off somewhere else. And you don't have the jobs, you don't have the spinoff, you don't have the income coming into the county. And when you weigh off $750,000, $1 million, doesn't matter. You're bringing in several $1 million into the county every year for a long period of time that spins off 7 times. Those are huge dollars. Now, it's not like I'm bringing in a Mitsubishi plant that's going to employ 500 people.
Sure.
But the wages are not bad. I mean, they're pretty good. There's a lot of professional RNs, physical therapists, professional managers, those kind of things. And even the CNAs and the housekeepers and the cooks, they're all getting a pretty good wage and insurance. We pay our company now per individual average 300. Of course, we get big group benefits, but $320 per employee per month. I mean, you add that on top of a $15 an hour wage, it's starting to stack up. We're not talking about opening up a place that's going to employ 1 or 2 or 3 people,
Sure.
have 0 benefits and paying a minimum wage. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about employing 45 people and good wages, good insurance. So, yeah.
And that's a guarantee? You're going to put that in writing, that you're going to hire 45 employees?
It's right here in the budgets.
You're going to keep it that way?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my question would be, if we want to go any further with this, we probably just need to decide right now what you want to do. If not, because you got to come back with a plan. Still, you got to come back and say, I want this amount of dollars, and I would like to have it in the taxpayers pay for it. Right? Or are you saying that now?
Well, I'm kind of saying it now. I
Okay.
can rewrite the plan in a different way. We need to have some, he's got a plan there that shows.
No, I got you. I'm
like 750, I guess what I'm looking at is, if we're willing to support that, do it for a year, so get it off the ground, do it that way.
So-
If not, then we can negotiate it another way.
And I'll reserve my thoughts on it, but I'm going to ask you two, do you want?
Well, I think we're in, I'd like to see get something going for sure, yeah. And but you have a hospital district up in your area that supports something like that. Down here.
We don't support, but we don't support it.
Well,
And
what do you support? The clinic?
the clinic.
Well, your taxpayers are still paying.
And
for
you've
this.
got a clinic here, and there's a clinic in
But
Pleasanton.
our taxpayers don't support this.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why don't we look at putting together a hospital board? I mean, I don't know, Gary, that's more Gary question, how we can do something like that. I mean,
Well, I think he's got to decide, and I mean, Justin and I've talked about this. If you're gonna create a hospital board, you got to decide the area you want to do it. You got to put it on the ballot. Because I'll tell you right now, I'm not gonna vote on to raise the taxes for the people in Linn County unless they're in favor of it. I mean, I've told you that on the phone 2 different times, and you know, we've talked a long time, and that's the way I feel about it. I mean, if the people in Linn County want it, I'm for it. But if you don't put it on the ballot to see what we've got,
and that's, I mean,
And that's fine, that's fair.
Oh, yeah, I'm listening. I mean,
But,
all I'm asking here is for, some guidance and some direction and understanding.
Gary, help us out.
There's basically two, and possibly a third way that you could support this financially. One is by coming up with a way to support it out of the general fund. Well, that would in effect tax the whole county to support it, again, without their saying, yes, we want that. But that's one way to do it. The second way is to create a hospital district. Hospital district can be created in 2 ways. One is the commissioners can just create one and impose it on whatever portion of the county they desire to. You could impose it on the south half of the county or all the county except the existing hospital district or some, but you would create a hospital district and you then can tax through that district. Again, this does not involve going to the people for a decision. This is an arbitrary decision made by the commission. The second way to create a hospital district is by the promoter of the district, which is Jesse, determining what area he wants to cover, getting a definition of that area so that there's a firm, definable boundary, and then doing what we call a petition drive in that area. He would carry petitions to the registered voters in the area that he's trying to create as a district. And when he has 51% of those registered voters on the petition, then you are required to create a district for him. That is as close as we get to a vote of people. There's nothing in the statutes that lays out a process of actually voting for a hospital district. There are such things, but things they call advisory elections. And we did one on a hospital district at one time. But all that does is say, here's what the people think. But
You gotta make the decision, yeah.
How did that when we did advisory election on that, I think the people were overwhelmingly wanted to disband the district, didn't they, at that time?
They did on that one, and I don't have those results.
now, do we have to abandon the one we have now, the Prescott, or is it abandoned, or what
Well,
is?
it is all but abandoned.
Okay.
They take it, the board has done everything except the final step of publishing their resolution. They have held off because they're trying to get some last little details wrapped up. But I expect that resolution will be published within the next month. And so that district will be gone. It's all but gone. They've already indicated their intention to. They've already quit doing a budget. They quit submitting for taxes. They've done everything but the final step, which involves bringing their documents to David to the warehouse and publishing their final resolution. So that's the second way. Okay, first way was general fund. Second way was hospital district. And then there's 2 options there. And then there might also be a third way, and that would be to create a bond district. There are, this is one I haven't done a lot of research on, and I would have to get with some bond counsel to figure out if there's a way that it could be applicable. But there are districts that can be created by some municipalities that would create the district and basically allow the entity or the developer in that district to issue bonds that are in effect subsidized by the municipality without the municipality actually paying it back.
Would that be like a TIF?
Yeah, it'd be like TIF.
So if it was a hospital district, we cannot drag anybody in out of the district we already have unless they was to vote on it. I mean, if we already have one hospital
If you
district.
were gonna create a hospital district, the largest you could create would be all of the county except for the Lincoln Scott Township. That would be the largest district you could.
So we would pay, what was not in the Lincoln Scott Township would be paying for it. They would not pay any.
Right, they would not be involved in any way.
And currently Lincoln Scott is 65.5% of the value in the county.
So you'd be paying for,
Basically with a third of the county's value would be all that would be available for this district.
so that's kind of an analysis of what could be done.
What would you support?
So to get it on the ballot, he has to do a petition? Is that,
Okay,
It's an easier.
there's no getting it on the ballot.
oh, there's not just,
I
okay.
mean, you
So
could,
bring it to us.
you could call an advisory election and say to the people, would you be in favor of having a hospital district?
Well, what's wrong with that? What's
You
wrong?
could do that, but then all that does is say that here, it's like a poll. It's really like, I mean, we spend what, $20,000 to have that election. It would be like a poll, and then you'd still have to do one of these two methods. You see what I'm saying? That all advisory election does is say, here's what the people who are voting in this election think. But it doesn't make a determination.
So when Rick's hospital district, they went down around and did the petition, correct?
Rick's hospital district.
Lincoln Scott.
Oh, Lincoln.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
by petition.
Lincoln Scott did a petition. They got the list of all the voters in those two townships, and they carried the petition. And we're not just talking about something like where you put up a piece of paper at the gas station and say, sign this. I mean, there's specific rules for who can carry it, how they carry it, what's on the piece of paper. I mean, it's detailed. But they did all that. And they carried it, and they got the signatures that they needed.
So 35% of our tax base in the county would be paying for this if we declared another hospital.
Right. If you did a hospital district that included all of the county except for Lincoln Scott Township, which you can't include, then 35% of the tax base would be paid. Not 35% of the population.
Right.
But 35% of the tax base would be carrying that assessment. David, if I say anything that's inaccurate, be sure you're correct.
No, I think you're right there.
So are you willing to carry a petition and bring those names forward to the county?
I'll be willing to do, I have a question for Gary.
Just when we're done here, because we gotta
Yeah,
keep going.
I
Yeah,
just want to know what fast,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I want to know, why you guys believe the way you believe and what's fair. And then I also want to know what I gotta do.
Okay.
And I understand that if you guys want it, we can work together. If it's something we want, or we don't really want, or we don't know, we want to jump that hurdle, you guys, at some point, it's just gonna get high, I can't do it by myself. So I appreciate that, if that's how you feel, if that's what you want. But I feel like we've got development in place, one of the best. We've got management in place. I've held this thing and done as much as I can do. So I've done my part after this. I feel okay with it. But hold on. I got a few questions for Gary.
All right. When we're done, maybe see Gary a little bit, maybe you can take him in there and we'll go to the next one. But my point is, the way I would support it, if you was gonna go out to that 35% of the tax base and carry a petition, and you bring us back all the signatures and whatever percentage we need to make a better decision, instead of us spending $20,000 on an advisory election, because it's the same exact thing almost, except then they're not putting everything in writing. Here you got signatures of people, your ambition to do it. If you bring all those forward and we've got enough to do it, then we'll vote on it.
Well, here's something I'd like to say. When I go to talk to taxpayers, I have different routes that we're talking about doing that I would like to at least narrow down to one. So when I tell a taxpayer, if I say, we're gonna put this levy in place, if your district gets the power plant money and all that valuation, now we're asking Jim and Danny's district people to carry 3 times, 4 times as much load when it's really for the county support. So that division there is a totally different story to the people. Do I support that? No, but if that's my only option, sure. I was gonna ask Gary about the bond. If you do a bond, will that underlay and go with Lincoln Scott and it be countywide?
The bond would be you borrow the money.
Okay.
You would be the issuer of the bond. Well, the municipality issues it, but you're the one responsible.
Okay.
So you would be the borrower, but because the municipality is acting in your behalf, you're able to get municipal rates and so forth.
Municipal rates
On the finance.
like qualify for USDA?
Well, it would be,
Are you guys able to support that if we put out bonds? Support tax as far as that?
no, we wouldn't be paying that back. You'd be paying.
So it would be not really, there's.
It's a way for you to get a 30-year bond, let's say. So you borrow that $755,000 where it is you need, and you borrow it for 30 years on this bond rate, and then as you get in the black in 3 or 4 years as you projected, you pay it off.
Okay. So it's just a way for me to get financed.
Way to get fired.
With you guys.
That's all a bond is borrowing money.
Okay, so it's a way for me to get financing without, it's support, but it's
It's a way of supporting you without putting any money.
yeah.
It said if he goes and gets 51% of the signatures in the districts that he wanted, I felt. But in those districts, and then brings that back, the county commission in this, I wrote down, it was required
Right.
to issue. It's not a vote, it's a
Right.
Yeah.
If the petition passes the snuff, then the commissioners will create a district. That's the requirement of the state.
But not the entire county, just the district.
Within the district.
District's kind of out of the mix, but they've got something else going on.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so it'd be the other 2 districts.
Well,
Actually, Rick's district includes a little more than Lincoln Scott.
Not anymore.
No.
That's it now,
Pick it up.
because we had to readjust.
Oh, that's right. Okay, we made
David, could you do a mill levy valuation on the 2 districts and then one with his? You know what that might be?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
He'd like to know what 1 mill would raise on all the county except for the Lincoln Scott district.
Well, for the whole county with the current valuation, 1 mil is $285,000.
So take 35% of that.
The remaining value, excluding Lincoln Scott, it would be 98,000.
There you go. Now I'm telling the taxpayer 1 mil for 285,000, or basically 3.5.
But I'm telling you, Jesse, the fact that Lincoln Scott Township already has a district means that they're not an option, period. Unless you could convince them to kill their district, and hell will freeze over before that.
Well, I don't know about that because I've looked at the last 10 years of their mill levy, and I think it's dwindled down to like 150 or 160,000 a year.
Yeah, they're not
But my
taxing.
No, they're not drawing very much. And I think when they first put this together, they had a 10-year plan to build this clinic, and that was what they were selling to the people and doing. My thoughts are, if we work with them, if they would dissolve their district, we would place 1 county district. They still get their tax money, and their taxes are gonna be very little. And you guys can place the district up to 2 mills on your own, and now give a bill for us. And at that rate, countywide rate, they would only need 3/4 of a mil, and I would still leave 1/4 of a mil in the bank somewhere for you guys, for the county to do with stuff to have in reserve, even of incentive.
So the 2 big ifs that have to be met before you could even get to the point of figuring out how much of the tax and how to distribute that tax is. You'd have to convince Lincoln Scott to disband their district.
Sure.
Which, like I say, I'd be willing to put some money on the line.
How much?
Secondly, you'd still have to carry a petition to the whole county then, because they're not gonna create, they've said they're not gonna create a district without a petition. And my
That's for me.
accurately.
Yeah, I want to know if the people really want it or not.
I do too.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is something we're putting on.
So those are two big hurdles.
Sure, and there's even more.
Well, hey, but we do need to cut this. We need to move on with something else. So just a couple more minutes, please.
Okay, then if I go to Lincoln Scott, it's hard for me I think the best way to do it, and for the county, for the people, is to create one district. And then you can add on nonprofits. This is not a private, this is a nonprofit. And then you can add more than 2, 3, you can grow. So my thoughts are, yeah, it's a little bit of work right now to get it, to back it up, restructure it. But it would be smarter, okay? And then I'm asking, I guess, to talk to the people. If we talk to the district, I'll talk to them. If we talk to the people through an advisory election,
But you're asking us to create an advisory election at $20,000 for
is it really $20,000?
probably.
It depends on when it is, if it's with, I don't have a good estimate right now.
For November?
We're past,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have notices and periods of time we have to do that.
the next thing available would be primary a year from August, and there's plenty of time, and it would be cheaper if it was with a regular election.
I was presuming that it would have to be a special election because you're either gonna have it.
Well, and it may,
Or after.
and it may be, and I'm not sure, can you have an advisory along with another election? I'd have to look at that.
You
too.
have to,
You gotta have things
you have to have
separated.
separate polling places
Yeah.
in the same location. It's very complicated.
Okay, so the voting deal, we're gonna say it's off the table. Right?
An advisory election would cost $20,000 and it would not accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Other than just.
Talk to the people.
You're not talking, it's the people who show up for the election. It says what they think, but
Yeah.
keep in mind, a lot of people don't show up for the election.
Well, the rest of them probably trust in you guys and the way you guys believe and what you think, and the others, probably don't show up because the hurdle's not big enough. I guarantee you, if I can call anybody in the northwest part of the county and say, guys, you know, you live in a $100,000 house, it's gonna cost you $1 a month, you're gonna put, all these jobs, this extra money in the nursing home, they're gonna try to if they, I just don't feel that way, but anyway,
I think the first thing you need to do is to talk to the Lincoln Scott Township Board.
Yeah.
And see how they do it.
If that's something you want to do that as your accomplishment, but we really got to go. We've given you a lot of time, probably as much, if not more than anybody here so far. And then if you choose not to go there, I think you got 2 options.
this is my road, I'm gonna go.
If you're going to if you're going to create a hospital district without Lincoln, in the end, they say no, okay? Or you're going to carry a ballot. You're going to carry signatures around and get those signatures, because I don't see us doing an advisory election because it accomplished nothing.
It's $20,000.
All right, thank you.
I guess, I want to be clear on it.
Your critical decision point here is a district with Lincoln Scott or without Lincoln Scott.
Are they going to support?
Well, listen to me. If it's with Lincoln Scott, then you need to go to that board and say, are you willing to do what's necessary to become a part of a county district, which would be in either, actually, I said they have to disband. The second way is for us to create the district, have it cover the rest of the county, and then they can merge. That could also happen. But it's essentially the same thing.
And what that would do is spread the power plant money for the next 10 years throughout the county.
Right.
So I guess I'd be asking Jim, if I go the route up there to see if they will dissolve to a countywide, I can tell the taxpayers, $1 a month. If they don't, we come back, this district, just these two, I'm gonna need to tell them $4 for that same person.
Well,
If I do that,
there's a cap how much you can back through.
Right.
The
the cap says,
cap is 6, but the commission may not do 6.
well, that's what I'm saying, Jim, this is all gonna funnel back to you and your thoughts with your people. How would you like to see it? I mean, do you think there should be a countywide, and then,
I'll leave it to the people in Linn County as far as I want to see what they say. I mean, you're gonna have to jump through your hurdle to see what they do there first, I believe. And then, I mean, it's the people. I'm not gonna,
tell them something, so I'd like to tell them a price, and actually be a legit price, just like his budget. It actually wants to be a right budget. So
depends what you have. If you have the district up there or not, you got two choices there. I mean, that's.
And either way, you're going to have to carry signatures
Mm-hmm.
from either the entire county,
Sure.
51% of the entire county, if they dissolve or merge or whatever we call it, or 51% of the district that you created. But we're going to go.
Gary?
Come on up, Treasurer. Pam, you got something?
He wants to know if you get, that, we're too early to get to that point. I mean, there's no point worrying about creating a petition until you know
What you got?
what you got.
Okay?
So I need to come back next week and get this petition, if I go talk to that.
Sure.
Next step.
Yeah.
I think you
Go
need
talk to
them
the,
and then just talk to Gary about what you need to do next and get rolling.
What he's asking, you want me to spend my time that you're paying me for to help him create petitions? That's
No.
what he's asking.
no.
No, I think he needs to do that on his own.
Yeah.
But he can't create it's gonna be a legal binding.
He'll have to retain that legal representation. The question is, will you pay for it? Is he gonna actually?
Well, how much time, I mean, how much time is that gonna take?
Lincoln Scott retained me to do theirs, and it probably took 30 hours worth of work. I can't remember exactly. You know, I think
6,000, 7,000?
I think it cost $5,000-6,000.
Yeah.
And you guys are already willing to support that.
I would like to help Jesse any way we can. I mean, he's put a lot of time and effort in it. He's brought this guy in from Wichita 3 times, and this is the only time we've ever given him the actual time to talk and explain what he's got going on. And I think Jesse's asking, good questions, and Jesse's not in here saying he's wanting to run anything. He's wanting to do this. He's got this management company staying here set, and this is what we want to do. But we've all kind of made up our minds on Jesse, which I don't think that's right. I think we should give him the opportunity, and that's my opinion. But I think, Gary, my opinion is I think, yes, you should help him do that.
Make a motion.
I'd make a motion that we allow Gary to help Jesse put together a legal binding petition after he goes and does his steps. Whatever that is. We allow Gary to help Jesse put together something to make this happen.
So we have a motion on the table to spend X amount of dollars to help create a petition for this project. Is there a second? No second, so it dies. Thank you.
Gary, or Jesse, I'll reach out to a few people and see if I can't help you out.
I'm Ken, GIS Mapping Department, and I'm following up on the presentation and discussion we had before in June about the Eagle View pictometry imagery, the obliques and ortho upgrades. I wanted to wait before I came back until our appraiser was on staff and until you had somebody in the position of the Public Works Department. So I'll give you back these sheets that shows the projects and the costs. The amount that I told you before was less than this amount, but they had an inaccurate coverage. If you look at page 3, they didn't have the western side of the county covered as we had purchased before. So I told them to get that included because we didn't want to omit them. And on the 4th page, you can see the difference between 3-inch, 6-inch, and 9-inch photography. What we currently have is 3-inch in the urban areas and 6-inch in the rural areas. And I think we all feel that this is something that we're going to want to continue. This is a great tool for all of the different departments to do their jobs, being able to see that quality of imagery.
Just Pam, just go briefly, who uses this imagery and what's the purpose of being so perfect on it?
Right now, the appraiser's office uses it, Public Works uses it, Emergency Management uses it. Obviously, the mapping department uses it. I've got reports of the different logins and how many views they've looked at it. Since we first got it in 19, it was a partial year, and then 2020 was a full year, and 2021 is a partial year. And it's very heavily used. Jim's even logged in 4 times and looked at 45 different images just to see what he's purchasing. That's the email I sent you that you've logged in and looked at.
Ha! Been using it, huh?
He's doing his homework to see what we're getting from it.
Well, my question is, what if we don't do it, Pam? I mean, if we don't do it this year? I mean, I'm just.
Well, it was set up, the contract was set up for 2 flights over a 6-year period.
Okay.
So we've had the first flight to see what we're getting, and we're in love with it. We don't really want to give it up. It's like you've given us a favorite hammer and then taking that back away.
Okay.
So it's a tool that we use for, each department uses it for a different reason.
So if we don't buy it, then we lose it? Is that what, I mean?
Yes, we would not be able to log into that spot anymore, and we wouldn't get upgraded imagery.
Okay.
We, part of our compliance as well, is we can use the blue image. Because it is at a 45-degree angle, so we can actually do kind of a walkabout on a property without even
Going there?
if we didn't need to, and we need to check to see if the county, I haven't checked here, but I know in previous counties that we were at, we utilize we use 3 images, the orthos, which is a top-down, the oblique imagery, and then we take front level, the mobile video images, and then when we go out there, we also take new ones as we go out to load in that. But at the bottom, it does helps us with our productivity. Let's say that we're out on a rural property and there's there's no access. The staff can go out and actually, they have to pull tape on 2 sides of a property, but then let's say they can't get the big outbuilding in the back because it's gated off. There's farm animals out there or whatever. They could go back to the office, flag that, go and make sure that they can get that outbuilding. And we're also with our Orion system, we have to get wall heights and different, there's different things for our cost approach. So it really does help with them. It's a measuring tool. Also with large parking lots, I know probably don't have as many large parking lots, but instead of going out there with the wheel, you can just do do parking lots and different things a lot more efficiently. I can tell you we don't have a lot of staff, so this is a tool that they can come back and check our measurements, because we are mandated to go to a property once every 6 years. And we do have to do at least 2 sides of each property. So this is just an extra tool to help in that process. And I know that I've used it for many, many years, and it would be definitely a step backwards if we did not. So,
What do you think?
You won't get bit by a dog by looking at them. You said it's either.
we'll go out to property.
And then,
I think he had a Danny had a question.
okay,
You said this was 6 years, right? This price is for 6 years? Is that what you said?
it's a 6-year 2 flight, but the prices are for each flight. And the second one's going to be a little bit higher because they're giving us a discount if we get it all signed before the end of this month.
So it's 35,313 for the first 3 years, and then 36,
If you want to do it by payments, it is, yes. If you want to pay for it all at once, then it's the 105,939 or the other. And talking about paying for it, if the last time we paid for it all at once, and it was broken down by the appraiser kicked in 6,000, emergency management 5,000, the GIS paid around 8,000, and then the road and bridge paid for the rest of it in the special fund. And I think Sean may want to talk to you more about, as we go forward, this isn't something we really want to give up. We don't want to give up our good.
Are you in the same agreement now as far as the breakdown? Every shop that your office you just mentioned, are they still willing to put that money in?
Yes, they've committed to that for this flight.
Now, is the annual payments the same as the
The
total
total
payments?
cost, yes.
They're just doing it yearly?
Yeah, it's just trying to make it more affordable so you're not getting hit in the gut all at once. It's just however we want to pay for it.
Sean, did you want to comment on it?
The only thing that I talked to David, and this is a considerable amount of, at one time out of road and bridge, that we work together and we divide that out and actually budget it into a line item. So if this is something we're going to continue to do, that we know every 3 years that this is out there, that we budget for that and put a line item out there. And I don't know whether it's in multiple departments or in one, but we budget for it in the future instead of pulling that large amount out of one line item.
Where's it coming out of now if they decide for them? Contingency?
And that's what we need to figure out. We did not have it like in the road budget for this year. Contingency is an option. I mean, I can adjust that budget to show it coming out of there this year, but then, to me, part of that question then goes to, do you want to pay for the first 3 years all at once? You want to do yearly payments?
What's the benefit to us? I mean, which way is it?
It's going to be easier on this budget we're working in right now if we just did a 1 year payment. Since we didn't have a item set aside for $100,000 this year to pay.
Right. And to clarify, I think the only thing that's going to be paid in 2021 is the initial 8%. And I have enough money in my special fund that I've been saving up each year to pay that. And so then in 2022, the other departments will be paying the remainder.
Okay. So that would mean we need to go back and adjust those departments with what they've turned in on budget for next year to add for this payments.
And then make annual payments? Is that what you're saying? Or?
It's however you got to do it. I think if we just got it in there and did annual payments every year, we're not going to be, we'll have a small increase probably each time, but then we're not going to be coming in here and asking for $110,000. We're just going to be, keeping it a steady medium of what those yearly payments are. And that way it's easier to budget for because it's going to be in place.
And Jim had asked earlier on, what if we didn't use this? What's our other option?
The other option is we're not going to be able to look at anything oblique.
So we won't have anything at all to look at.
Still have ortho images. We can still use the 911 ortho images. They're 1 foot pixel resolution, so you can, in your mind, configure 1 foot to a 3 inch from what your paperwork shows, a 9 inch to a 3 inch, the difference.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear that.
If we're not going to do it, that's the tool we would have to use.
Okay.
You'd be giving me a plastic camera.
And the cost difference is what's the cost difference, Pam?
For
The other option.
the other option is already paid for with 911.
So it's already done. Okay. I just wanted everybody to understand
But
that.
they flew at 18, so that gives us 2 different ones to compare from. That's kind of like having a bonus in there, like having them at different years.
Now, are there other companies that do this, or is this the only company, or is it this the best?
That's pretty much the only company that does the obliques. There's other companies that do the orthos. And the 911, they contract with the other company, Surdex, for the orthos.
Does the sheriff's department, you ever use these photos? None?
They did not want to participate when we first asked them 3 years ago.
Okay.
But I don't think Kevin was here 3 years ago.
Like a lot, most departments use it. It's beneficial to fire, scanning all of them, so you can see, with the imagery, a lot of times they can see the door, placement of doors and stuff for emergency purposes and stuff, so.
And here, the other budgeting question to go with it too is, what is a legitimate or fair breakdown of costs between departments? And, stop me if this is not what you remember, but I think when we did this before, a large chunk of that came out of road because they had the money to
Yes.
afford it at the time.
Yes.
But if you look at that, that's a huge amount of it coming
Right.
out of road compared to the
When
other.
I talked to Jackie about it, he's like, he wanted the best, and that's what he said, we'll pay for it. So that's how it got started. But in order to continue it, it would kind of be like me paying out of my budget for all of the Esri products. I'm doing that even though I'm not the only one using it.
Sure.
So it'd be to decide if we're going to just have it in a line item in one budget and that you guys fund that one budget, or if we're going to nickel and dime it between the budgets, or however you want to do it.
Truthfully, be the easiest thing on budgeting to do is put a line item in either the contingency or the courthouse budget to budget for it every year and just pay it out of there and not even worry about the departments.
Okay.
And then if that was being done, it would be fair for me to have a user for every department, and whoever wanted to use could use it. And we can even have a user as public and have that where public comes.
Now, do outside companies use this for you? I mean, do they ever, like,
I've never given any outside company a login other than the people that are working on the flood zone right now, and they didn't use it very much, and I've removed them since then, and I don't know if I gave you the report or not. I told you about it, but I didn't hand it to you. There's a couple of them you'll see as deleted users. Those people don't work here anymore, but they used it a lot. So. But Jackie was having me try to map some of the utilities and things, and being able to have that 3-inch imagery in those city areas, you can see those larger manholes and stuff, and it makes it so much easier. And, can look back at the 6 or 9 and you're not going to be able to see those things. So. Do you have any other questions about the imagery?
I don't.
So what I need to know today is, so that we can do it by the end of the month, is if we're going to proceed with this option, and then I'll be paying the 8% this year, and they'll fly in probably February, March of 2022. And then within a few months, they'll have it where we'll be getting access to that imagery, and then
with this 6-year plan, how often will they fly?
twice.
Twice in the 6 years, every 3 years.
Yeah.
You got something?
I just think really at this point, the easiest thing would be to add a line item to a general fund, either courthouse or contingency. Let me fund it there.
Okay.
For starting with next year's budget, and I'll just rely on Pam, or once both of us retire, whoever's in those positions, to remind us to put it in there every year.
And like I said, I have enough money put back to cover that 8% for the.
So the actual 35, 313 is the 8% some of that, or?
Yes, that will come out of the first payment.
Okay.
Or if we were doing it by payments, it would come out by the first payment. Otherwise, it'll come out of the total payment.
So for next year, I would need 8,000 less than that for the first payment, and then the others would be.
No. I may not have understood your question. So for the first year, if we were doing annual payments, that 8,000 would be coming out of that first payment. But then the rest of the payments would be 35,300.
So August 1's that when the payments due, I guess, or you said you gotta know by then, so.
We have to know to basically for the contract before the end of this month to get that $4,000 discount off of those 3 changes.
So I guess, I don't think we're still.
So in 2021, you pay 8,000. In 2022, how much will you pay
The remainder
of the first payment, which would be 27,000?
Okay.
but then the second payment would be 35.
Okay.
Yes, for budgeting for next year, I need $8,000 less than what it says on there per year.
Yes.
Would the second payment be done, would the second payment be due in 23 or 22? That's what I guess.
Okay, so let's call it a down payment would be my part, the 8,000, that's in 2021. And then the rest of that first payment is due in 2022.
And then the full payment is due in 2023.
23.
Yes, the first 35,000 at one time would be.
As I say, when I presented the budget in my reserve, 104, I had put, I said at least 6,000, towards that, so I don't know, that's something to.
So she put her 6,000 in there already, is what you're saying, for 2022.
On my proposed, whatever.
Planning to transfer that to cover it for.
Right, I was. That first.
Is that a big deal to you, David, to actually create a line? Create a line number?
Get to the end of this year and have that transfer, it could be put in another vehicle or something.
Yeah, I
It's neat
just,
to-
yeah.
Is there some rule against maybe the residents of Linn County? Could they use this in other counties?
In other counties,
No, but I guess, do other counties allow their residents to
Yes.
pull up their own photos?
yeah,
And
when
it's
I
free
first
to them?
researched this, Topeka give me a login that they give to the public. The
Okay,
thing about it is, if there's several publics trying to do it at the same time, they can't all do it at the same time. They don't
Okay.
get their individual login.
okay.
But we could have one that was public.
Would they have to contact you in order to do that, or can they just,
We could,
Is there
we could just create a
instructions?
general public one and have that password on the website if you wanted to open it up to anybody.
Okay.
But there's gonna be a limit of how many people
Sure.
can be on at the
So
same
the,
time.
the question I brought up was, can you as a resident go ahead and pull this up on?
Do title companies
She
use
says they
this and stuff?
We've never.
create that.
Never did that, no.
That would be more beneficial.
And what do they use? Do you have? I know some of them's talking.
They use our online parcel map that's,
Would
got the Orion information linked to it.
benefit from
They
that.
call it ORCA,
Okay.
Open Records for Kansas Appraisers, so that's what they use.
I know some of them's told me that we have something that they really like.
The only problem that we get in trouble with there is Orion has a property description. It could be abbreviated. It's not the actual legal description, so they need to be real careful when they're doing that. They don't use that property description.
Right. Okay, so you need a motion for, what's the total? Are we making one payment, or are we,
That's what you guys want to do.
or are we not doing it at all? I guess, is there any, are you for it?
I think so, yeah.
I'm for it, you for it, we're all for it. So now how we pay for it, David?
So I think what we would need is basically a motion to approve the service, the renewal, whatever we're calling it. And a recommendation to do it as a
Separate
lump
one?
sum payment or spread over years.
Okay.
And I don't care which way. I mean, probably for budget at this point, it would be easier to make yearly payments.
Well, it don't cost us anything to make it. I mean, what advantage do we have paying it all up front? I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not paying interest or anything.
Yeah.
David just wants to get it done.
And it wouldn't hit the road and bridge quite as hard if we,
Well, he's gonna fix that right now.
Well, like I said, I can do it out
Yeah,
of
out of the hole.
contingency or courthouse, and then we don't have to worry about it hitting anybody.
Read me a motion.
I like that.
So
All right.
so this would be a contract.
That's what he's saying.
Eagle View.
Eagle View.
While they're figuring that out, you needed some time? 15 minutes personnel and 5 minutes for legal, you said, right?
Yes.
Sheriff, did you need anything at all? Gary, did you need anything?
Nope.
Danny?
I have a question or a concern I would like to talk about in front of Gary. I don't know, did you get the email that I had sent? There's a company up in Lacine, Three Rivers Lodge. I shouldn't have said that in a public meeting, but anyway, they used Google and a pinpoint on the map to choose their own address. And this has happened before also with a realtor, just made up an address. And what can we do to keep that from happening? Because we've got things in place to do it the correct way and use the
Do they have a 911 address or whatever?
well, any physical situs address should be the 911 address, and that's why they shouldn't be doing it. It should be done through 911.
What if, just a hypothetical question, what if I had the wrong address on my place? How would you fix it?
They would contact me and I would fix it. And I would contact the postal service. I would contact the CenturyLink, our database, CenturyLink is our 911 provider.
Then I think that you should send them a letter saying your address is incorrect, it will be corrected to this, and we're gonna take steps to do that immediately.
Okay, I did send, and I,
That's the way it's supposed to work. We're supposed
right,
to decide this.
exactly. And so I didn't know what kind of teeth we had and what I need to do to keep them from doing that.
I think word will get around.
And why is it sometimes the Google address is wrong whenever you Google?
Because an address number is based on this road center line. And the road center line has attributes attached to it that knows from this intersection to this intersection, the range is 1,000 to 1,999. And if Google doesn't have that center line correct, then it's going to bring up a wrong number. It's based on where it is on that line from this end to that end.
So, and they may have just thought they were doing it okay. Have you ever even talked to
If you can do it.
Have you talked to them at all?
Yes.
We probably had something on our website that somehow says, I don't know whether it be on your portion or where, but, you know, the new address must be assigned by the county. I don't know how you say it, but.
The approach I did with it, I sent them our driveway application because it states it's illegal to cross the county right of way by putting in a rock or culvert or anything without the county's permission. So I sent that to him and he has filled that out and our road foreman approved the location. I just haven't told him that his address is going to be different yet than the one he chose, and he's got it on his website and everything else.
Well,
and I had a person who purchased property that came in and said that the realtor made up the address. What's the real address supposed to be? So.
I think we just have to say, this is wrong. Fix it.
Okay, so,
All right.
and can you make me a copy of this?
I can print another copy. You can have that. Yeah.
So I just have down to approve the contract with Eagle View in the amount of $215,118 with payments spread over 6 years to be paid from the general fund. And that leaves a little flexibility for me where I go in the general fund, but I can get it worked out off of that.
You can keep that.
You good? Good. That's my motion.
Well, second.
Been moved and seconded. We pay for this imagery in that amount that was stated. All in favor? Aye. 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Other than, okay, this executive session, we're talking some personnel and legal, correct?
15 personnel, 5 legal with
And then,
Sean.
and then I've got some budget information left to go after that.
I'm like 10 minutes, I go see.
So I'll make a motion. We go into executive session, 15 minutes for personnel, 20 minutes total for legal. That's my motion. All in favor? Aye.
Are those Pleasant, is that Lacey and Pleasant and playing tomorrow and tonight?
Tonight, Lacey.
Are we supposed to go, am I supposed to go, I can't go to Lacey, can I?
Not unless,
If you want,
if you're
I'm gonna be there.
Oh, yeah, and so we decided we're gonna be each, or our own district, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Are you good?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna do it around. That's what
There's some statute that directs that the number
There's a whole bunch of statute about it. I think we have statutory support for what we're doing. I just don't.
They added, they bumped it up to 20 minutes.
There's so much in 911 under this statute.
But I'll say, come on back.
If you try to find that. Send it to her, because I think I've read it.
See you later.
Thank you.
I have copies of them for you if you want.
No thanks.
Okay.
He's chugging along here.
I'm back to doing steps now here
Are you?
in and out of the courthouse.
Without a cane or anything, huh? I can't do that.
Yeah, you get there.
See you later.
Well, I have copies for Gary ready. so-
Put that away.
See what I'm talking
I'm gonna put that away.
about. Put these in. All right. You guys ready to talk about this?
Yes.
One copy. So I sent you all a copy of the spreadsheet where I do the budget comparison.
Right.
I can go make some more copies of that if you'd like a printed one. I only have one with me, but, just talk about a little bit where we're at and then the budgets that I've got for you today. I have, what's there, 6 or 7 of them there, I think. Most of the ones I have for you today are not tax funded budgets. They are cash balances or
Okay.
bonds. So other than, the employee benefit and fair association, these are not gonna have an effect on the tax levy. So I don't, do you wanna just go through them first and then see if we got questions and where we go, big picture from here? Or-
Sure. Whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
So just the order I've got them together there, the Fair Association Building Fund budget. This is where we are allowed to levy up to $500,000 for the Fair Association for capital projects. This has been in for a few years now. We actually started at the $500,000 and then we cut it down over the years to where we're not levying a full $500,000. Mainly because they didn't need that much. We were able to keep increasing their tax dollars a little bit while lowering their levy. And that's the approach I took with it again this year. And that is the one on the budget comparison where I put a levy amount on there. And I was showing that we'd go down to 0.422 mils for next year. And they had been at 0.444 this year. So it's dropping roughly 0.2 of a mil, a little over. I have not talked to the Fair Board about it. However, this is increasing the money they would get by a couple $1,000s for next year while still lowering their levy. And I think they will be very happy with that.
I got a text message that somebody asked me, they said, does the Fair Board still get a $500,000 from the county for the building and ground maintenance? And I said I'd check on it or whatever.
Yeah, so not a full $500,000, but they're still getting as much money as they did a few years ago that a $500,000 brought in when we put that in.
So are they allowed to utilize it on, I mean, it says the building fund. I mean, that's separate from the building that we own down there, right?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with our building.
Okay, so they can do whatever they want with it, like,
This started when they did their big bleacher project and repaired some other buildings, and that was when they actually borrowed a bunch of money to do that work and came to us because we had been levying within our general fund to support them anyway. But this got it out of our general fund, established a new fund that has a limit of $500,000 that can be levied. Looking back, it's been about 5 years since we've been at $500,000 on it. However, we've never decreased the amount of tax dollars that they're getting. And in fact, increased it a little bit. So that one is, like I say, is what would be available at 0.422 mils for next year. And brings them in $2,000 more than they're gonna get this year. Now, part of that increase is due to, there was a canceled warrant that got put back in that changed their balance, and that's why the levy was able to go down a little bit, but I'm kind of getting into the deep working of the budget that you probably don't care about when we get into that part. So the next one's coming up after that. Capital improvement is our construction fund. I put in, I think, is possible for what we'll spend this year, and that was why I was asking Warren today about if he could give me an updated schedule on payments they're gonna need. So I'm estimating that for this year, we're gonna spend right about $10 million on the project. That leaves another close to $7.5 million left for next year's expense, so I just put the rest of the expense in next year. if he gets me something this week that changes my mind on that, I might adjust those figures a little bit.
So what if we go over on it though? You said we can't go over, right?
Yeah, I mean, this money's already there. So if we need to go over even the budget authority we had for this year, all it takes is amending the budget. So it's not a problem.
To spend it this year instead of next. is what
Right.
you're saying.
But I had budgeted for this year almost 13 million, so I guess 11 is what I've got on there for this year. It's another 10. But we should be fine. It could just be me adjusting balances on which year a little bit.
Okay.
But no effect on tax levies, because this is all money we collected from selling the bonds. It's sitting there drawing interest until we pay it out for the building.
Okay.
The one after that is the debt service. That is actually where we're paying back the bonds. That's the money we're getting in from the 1 cent sales tax. So the amount for the budget on that goes down a little bit, and that's just because of the bond schedule, the way it worked out for the next year. The payment's a little less. It's going to be a little more on principal, but less on interest. So really, there's nothing on the dollars on that one that can really be changed. We have to make that payment. What I did do on the page behind that, if you'll notice, last year's actual income for sales tax was 1,013,000. It'd be on the top half of that page. I looked at this year, what we've done so far, projected that out for the whole year, and it looks like we should be about 1.1 million this year. So it looks like we're even bringing in more than we did last year on sales tax. And then I just left that 1.1 as the estimate for next year. But if you'll notice, that would mean by the end of next year, we would have 1.892 million on the resources available, and our payment is 913,000. So we're going to have roughly a whole year's payment ahead that's just sitting there in our balance, which is not a bad position to be in. When we get to a point where we could start paying off some of these bonds early, if we've got some money built up like that, that'd be an option at that time where you could look at making, retiring some of those bonds early or saving some money over the life of the project. That's one of those that we've worked with Joey McLiney about, and I'm in touch with him periodically. He'll send me a message, so I know he's keeping an eye on that.
Well, good.
Too. The DARE fund is one we really haven't used in the last few years. It's still there. There's still a little bit of balance in it. I increased what it shows on the budget only because there was a bigger balance there than what we had in this year's budget, but this is not adding any funds into it. It's just a balance that's there. The 911 telephone tax, I looked at what we're spending this year. Looks like we had 125 we could spend. Even if we spend all of that this year, just the balance of that fund is going up enough that we could put in 215,000 as a budgeted expense next year. Again, it's just a cash fund, so we don't need to worry about taxes on it. I'm just showing what I think will be there and giving us the authority to spend it. The one after that is the Linn County 911 fund, which was a fund we created a few years ago because from what we understood at the time, and I think some of this came from Pam doing some research, some of these funds should be handled a little differently. However, we've never been putting money into this other fund. So I'm just showing the same amount in budget in case we start using that as part of our 911 funding. But again, it's no tax dollars going in there. And then the big one on the back, the rest of those pages have to do with are the employee benefit fund. This one, there's quite a bit that goes into that estimate. Notice there's a couple of notes at the bottom of the page. The health insurance line, I'm showing that we could spend 1.6 million this year out of the 1.705 we had budgeted, and still have enough included in that 1.6 to do a purchase order at the end of the year to help fund next year's claims. So that's what I based this on, was having that money left to use as a purchase order. That helps our levy for the following year if we can carry that over. So that page does not include any cost of living. However, in my calculations that are on some of these other pages, I put in a 3% cost of living to see what it would do to the budgets. The employee benefit budget, it makes a difference of about $30,000. So if we gave 3% cost of living, we'd need to add another 30,000 to this budget. But then just based on sheer dollars in payroll on my calculations, it would also add about 153,000 to all the other budgets put together. So, I mean, that'd be a combination of my office, road and bridge. I'd have to go back and adjust everyone up by 3% basically to cover it. So really, we're looking at what? 50,000 on salary and 10,000 on benefits. So for every 1% cost of living, it's going to cost us about $40,000 is what it boils down to. So that's part of the discussion we need to have next week too, is what direction do we want to go with cost of living or other adjustments we might have. But I'll need to sort that out before we publish so we know where we're at. So the pages after that are just some of the detail I went through to come up with these numbers. I don't know if you want to get into much of that detail or not. I started out with this year's payroll and just estimated what it's going to cost for the rest of this year. I put in a line for the additional staff with the new Justice Center. I put in $450,000 in staffing there that I think would be additional the way that budget proposal came through. I then took almost $190,000 off of the estimate for having one less pay period next year as we go back down to 26, so that helped. And I figured just an average of a step per employee, which was another 0.8%. And then just went through all the calculations on where that comes out for the budget. So I did all that on those pages. The pages behind it show where I got the work comp estimate and the health and life and cancer estimates. Put a couple of pages in there, just copies of our health insurance renewal to show where I got the numbers from to use on here. And then the final pages 3 after that is the same type of spreadsheet that this was, but it's adding a 3% cost of living just for the differences. So you can look at that and see which categories would need to change if we were to do 3%. And then obviously you could, whatever percent you wanted, but 3% would create about 40,000 a year between, or 60,000 a year between budgets and employee benefit budget.
What did we do last year? 1%?
Yeah, 1% was all we did last year. I think that's the lowest we'd done in quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
We had run 2 some years. We have run 3 before. But something I'm gonna need you guys to make a decision on probably next week before we get ready to publish everything.
I'm always for if we have the opportunity to give a cost of living allowance, you know,
And
it's a positive
I
thing
do
for
think
everyone.
the 3 is fairly realistic for what it is running this year.
Right.
But, and I think that was some of last year or somewhere along in there, the averages for cost of living were a lot lower than they are this year. And we're seeing a lot of increase. So I don't think 3 would be out of line this year with what we're seeing in cost trends. It's just a matter.
And right now you're looking at maybe a $600,000, all the budgets proposed, it's gonna be about 600,000 more than last year.
I think that was the general fund.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the general fund itself is up 643,000, and that's without any cost of living or anything added. That's just as they were submitted. And you can go down through that list and you can see there are some up and some down, but, and then you get down into like road and bridge is down 90,000, and which is outside of the general fund. Employee benefit, I'm down 71,000. Elderly's down 5,700. Appraiser is up 15,000. when you get down to the very bottom line on the change, it includes this change in the construction account, which skews your number. But it's showing a decrease of 4.9 million. However, 5.5 million decrease is due to the construction account going down. So really, overall, we'd be looking at about that 600,000 increase in the taxing funds. So questions, other things you want me to look at, or where do you want to go from here?
Just want to see what you come up with next week.
Yeah, and it's, I started getting the budget form set up the past few days. Got a few of the things punched in it. And in fact, that's where I got to that levy on the fair, was I have that part of it in there. But until I get all of my income information and everything put in that form, I can't really give you mill levy numbers. And that's part of this week's plan, is to get all that done and have it ready so we can discuss it next week. Depending on what that looks like, we may want to schedule a fair amount of time next week just to talk about budgets and sort through some of them if we feel like we need to make some cuts somewhere. And I don't know where that is yet, but I mean, I feel confident that we can at least come in at that revenue neutral by making some adjustments. So I don't think that's an issue.
What's your thoughts, comments?
Oh, I'm just trying to catch up still.
Jim?
I don't have any.
I got to review it quite a bit this week, and so I know our goal is absolutely not go over that.
Not to go where this year's.
The neutral.
I do know several entities around the county are going over. I know several more that are not. I don't have everyone's in yet, but it's kind of a mixed bag on.
Some schools are, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Cities are too, aren't they?
Some of them, but not all of them that I've seen so far. I think most of my libraries are staying within. I don't remember if I may have one going over. Townships. Not sure if I've got any townships going over or not. I mean, most of them are holding pretty tight on it. But some cities, and I know some schools, and I haven't seen all the schools yet. But like I say, there's some others that are actually dropping their levy even a little lower than they would have to. So hard to tell how it's all going to come out at this point.
Okay.
So just holding with what we've been doing, if you're okay with where this is at the moment, probably a motion to tentatively approve the ones that were presented today.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we tentatively approve the proposed budgets that was submitted today. Fair Association on through.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
And like I say, next week I'll give you proposed levies and looking at, if we're doing salary adjustments, where that would come out and how much it would affect. And then we could either publish next week and try to have the hearing like on would be 9th of August, or we could wait another week and have the hearing on the 16th. It's really not going to make any difference in the big picture on it, because go ahead.
Where are we at compared to other counties of having our budget done? Are we seem to wait till towards the end?
We're really running probably a week later this year than normal compared to others. I don't know. I know some of them start very early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
We never have. I usually just try to have it done in time to have our hearing by the 15th of August.
I got you.
Haven't worried about pushing up any more than that. But this year's been a struggle getting there, just with me being off and staff changes and me doing all the budgets for the townships and all those. It's been hard to find the time to get it all done.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I've got.
Jim, you got anything?
Kevin showed back up. Do we want to go talk to him for a minute? What would that be? Trade secrets or what?
It's not trade secrets. We can't go into legal, so no, you can't go into executive session with him. We'll have our attorney. So anybody got anything else? If not, then we'll make a motion, we adjourn. Moving and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Yeah, you out there? You?
What, let me get that, I already sent that address, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get a written
In
one?
Basement,
Huh?
a basement?
Yeah.